Hello, welcome everyone. Let me sort my mic out. There we go. Welcome. It's the one and only, the late Lord Haven. The last live stream I was dead on time, and I thought that was quite damaging to my brand, to my reputation. So I was like, hold on, no, I've got to be late. I've got to be late for the next one, otherwise people are going to stop calling me Late Lord Haven. And then how am I going to sell Late Lord Haven t-shirts and mugs, right? Hi everyone. Okay. Usually I ramble for a bit at the start. I'm usually waffling a bit. I'm yapping. Not today. Let's just dive right into it. So today we're doing Theory Iceberg. I tended to do these back in the day, right? I did like House Umber, House Manderley, etc. I would all Blackfires. I'd always do an Iceberg Theory video after that, and I haven't done that recently. Right, when we did the Brackens and the Blackwoods and so on, I forgot to do. I didn't forget. It was House of the Dragon. There was a lot going on, but I never got around to doing the Iceberg stuff, and people miss it. So here we go. Once again, we're going to be diving down all of these theories. At the very top, we have the very obvious theories. The simple ones, the understandable ones, and then as we go deeper and deeper into the dark depths of A Song of Ice and Fire community weirdness, we get the insane theories. So I'm going to start up at the very top and we'll make our way downwards, and throughout the course of this stream, of course, feel free to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and I'll be reading out super chats as they come in. Recently I've been reading them out at the end of the stream, but actually I think it's more fun for everyone when I read them out as we go along. So if you want to send in a super chat to support the channel, that means a lot to me because this is my job. We already have a super chat from Boombler. I'll be looking at that one very soon. In the description, there's also Streamlabs. So if you want to send in a Streamlabs donation, it's the same thing Alt-Shift-X has. It means that YouTube doesn't take a cut, right? That's something where you send it, I receive it. And again, it's another message that I can read out. But anyway, I'm also feeling better than 2 days ago. I'm at the tail end of my flu, right? My nose is still a bit blocked, but I think I'm fine. So let's begin. First off, at the very top, we have Frey pies. Oh, right, yeah, Boombler's super chat. My bad. Thank you for the super chat from Boombler, who says, in the time that it took for this stream to start, I finished college, got a job, got married, and settled down happy with my family. How about you, Haven? So Boombler's one of my patrons. My brother in Christ, there is no way in hell that you are settling down with a family. That's just not happening. It's gonna be you in your bedroom with your Polish flag, with your medieval swords for the rest of your life, all alone. But thank you for the money. No, I'm joking. Thank you so much, Boomler. That's awesome. Look, I'm the late Lord Haven. The late Lord Haven talking about the late Lord Frey. I can't be on my live stream in time. That's absurd. Shall we begin? Blah. So, go away. Sorry, I'm sorting something out on my phone. So Frey pies. So this is at the very top because this is just the most obvious thing, right? The Frey pie theory. That's a screenshot from the show, of course. Look at that dirty fingernail. What the hell? So in the north, we have 3 Freys who travel up to White Harbour. We have Jared Frey, who is Walder Frey's 5th son. Who's an old stooped knight with a pockmarked face and a thin moustache, and he's the one who lies, right? Jared lies and says, the Red Wedding, no, Rob attacked us. Rob transformed into a wolf, and all his men transformed into wolves, and then they became bloodthirsty furries, and they tore everyone apart, and they actually, Rob himself tried to kill Lord Walder Frey, the innocent Lord Walder, my father, but your son, Wendell Manderley, I believe. Wendell Manderley jumped in the way and sacrificed himself like a dramatic Hollywood movie, but instead of a bullet, it was sharp jaws of a northern furry. And he just tells this ridiculous story. And Wyman Manderley is pretending to go along with it. He's pretending to sort of be a confused old man, like, oh yes, of course, but he doesn't believe it. And Davos is there, because Davos is trying to negotiate on behalf of Stannis. And Davos Seaworth, who is of course based, right? He's awesome. He's like, that's such a blatant lie, right? You murdered a bunch of innocents. Obviously, Rob and his men didn't turn into werewolves. Like, well, why would you even make up? It's more convincing to say that they had hidden blades and they did like a reverse red wedding on the Freys. Like, that's more convincing than saying he turned into a wolf. What the hell? There are stories that have spread throughout the war, myths and legends and so on, in real time, and some of them say that Robb Stark transformed into a wolf. It's the fact that Robb has a dire wolf that fights with him in battle. The rumours spread and grow and twist into Robb himself turns into a wolf. So the phrase kind of ran with this scary imagery, with this scary myth that sort of spread among Lannister forces, right? But anyway, Jared's this lying scumbag, and Rhaegar Frey is also there. Rhaegar being the son of Walder Frey's third son, Aenys Frey, and Rhaegar has a sardonic smile, and he kind of goes along with the lies, and he wants to marry Winifred Manderly because she's second in line, and if he marries her, then eventually, after Lord Manderly dies and Willis Manderly dies, then Winifred will be the lady, which would make Rhaegar Lord Rhaegar of White Harbour. That's cursed. And then the third member of this triumvirate of weasels is Symond, who Wyman Manderly refers to as the Lannister spymaster. The Frey spymaster. Now, as I say in my Frey video, I don't know if that means he's literally the spymaster of the twins, right? Where the twins has a maester, they have a steward, Lame Lothar. Do they have Symond the spymaster? Maybe. Or Wyman is just colloquially referring to him as a spymaster because he is literally employed. He is bribing guards and servants and so on to spy on Wyman Manderly. He uses his wife He uses his wife's handmaiden to seduce the Manderly jester, so that the jester can spy on Wyman. And Wyman knows all this stuff because he's super intelligent. But yeah, Symond is spying, Jared is lying, Rhaegar is doing something that rhymes with both of those words, but I can't think of it. And Wyman's pretending to go along with it. Until... Oh, yeah. I want to say, I didn't mention this earlier, but the fact that Davos is like, you're clearly lying about the Red Wedding, and Jared, like, takes his sword out angrily, like, how dare you besmirch my honour, call me a liar. It's like, you... Shut up. Anyway, so these slimy Freys are like, okay, good, marriage is sorted out. Awesome. House Frey of White Harbour, let's fucking go. Anyway, we're going to, seeing as we're up north, we're going to travel to Winterfell and watch Ramsay marry Arya Stark. That'll be fun. And so, but on the way there, they disappear. That's the last time we see them. They disappear. Right? And then Ramsay and Littlewater, they go out searching. I think they search Barrington, because they were going up Barrington Way, and they're just missing. And next thing we know, Wyman Manderly rocks up with giant pork pies, and he's like, let's fucking feast. So why is this important? A, Manderly hates the Freys, so the idea that he would kill them, that's understandable. B, humans taste like pork, apparently. Right? I don't know that personally, but apparently, I promise, apparently humans taste like pork, so if you're eating human pie and it tastes like pork pie, that's not gonna arouse any suspicions. Thirdly, and this is the most important thing, Wyman says, let's have a song about the rat cook while everyone's eating the pies. And the rat cook myth is this old legend about someone who broke guest right, who baked a prince into a pie and fed it to his father, and the gods cursed him by turning him into a giant rat. And the gods didn't curse him for murder, they didn't curse him for baking someone into a pie, they didn't curse him for any of that, they cursed him because he did it while the victims were guests under his roof and they broke guest right. And so obviously the phrase broke guest right with the Red Wedding, so the idea is that Manderly's like, I'm going to take this legend and make it real, I'm going to serve these Freys other Freys, I'm going to make Aenys eat his own son Jared for banter, and I'm going to have the bard sing about the rat cook, and I can laugh being like, haha, you have no idea, I've just made you eat your own kin. And this is just a commonly accepted theory. It's almost canon at this point. Like, I think it's very blatant. And some people don't 100% think Frey pie is real. Like, I'm pretty sure Preston Jacobs, I don't know if he's updated this, but I remember Preston saying that he doesn't believe it. And his argument, in classic Preston style, his argument is, it doesn't logically make sense for Wyman Manderly to risk murdering 3 Freys and baking them into pies when those 3 didn't orchestrate the Red Wedding. They weren't responsible for his son's death. We don't know how involved they were, and killing them and the pie thing just arouses suspicions unnecessarily when, Wyman is clearly has a larger conspiracy at play. Why would he risk it? I disagree with Preston's take. I think Preston's doing his usual thing where he's viewing all the characters as robots and not humans. Like, Wyman's doing it because he's fucking nuts, basically, because he's super emotional and he's a little bit psycho, and he's like, this is the revenge I want to take, so I'm going to do it. Could you argue that maybe there are more sensible characters he could have done that to? Yes, but I think that's George just... I think, because we know he's a gardener as a writer, not an architect, I think... He seeded it. He had the guess right being broken. He seeded in the rat cook story in A Storm of Swords because he wanted to have a scene where a Frey eats a pie and that pie is their son because they broke guess right. Like, I don't think he planned it out meticulously. I think he was like, "Oh, here's a cool story about the rat cook feeding the pie, etc. I want that to happen to the Freys." But I imagine he didn't know the specifics, and then as he went through the books, he was like, "Okay, I don't actually know how and when this is logistically going to make sense. So how about Wyman can turn these Freys into pies because, they go missing, he arrives with pies, etc." And yeah, it doesn't really make sense that Wyman would risk everything just to do a little trolling, but he does. So there we go. Frey pies is... Oh, and of course, I think another thing that makes it almost confirmed is the fact that it literally happens in the show. A version happens in the show where... And it's far more stupid. If you think Wyman risking his conspiracy just to do some trolling is kind of dumb, it pales in comparison to somehow Arya Stark kidnaps Blackwater and Lothar Frey from the show and murders them and then cooks them into a pie and serves that pie to Walder Frey while she's in the twins and no one notices. She murders two men, they go missing, no one notices. She bakes them into a pie, I guess... all by herself in an empty kitchen in the twins somehow without anyone noticing. She carves two men up and bakes a pie and then serves it to Lord Walder, etc., etc. It's insane. Like, it's a shocking moment of, oh my god, he's eating his son. But it's like, logistically, how? Anyway, and in fact, the Freys in the show are slightly dumber than the Freys in the books, and trust me, I'm thinking I'm going to do a follow-up to my Every Frey Explained. It's going to be Every Game of Thrones Frey Explained. I'm coming out next week. I'm going to talk about the show version of Walder Frey, the show version of Lame Lothar, who's not cunning, but an idiot, an obsequious idiot, the show version of Blackwater, who is not Blackwater Frey in the show, he's Blackwater Rivers, he's a bastard. And not to mention the various Frey daughters who have been given made-up names instead of just giving them the names they have in the book. Why? I don't know. Why don't you ask King Orys I or King Maegor III? The show sometimes just invented shit when it didn't need to, and the books were right there, and it went, let's just make up a person, even though the equivalent was right. Anyway, I'm already rambling. Frey pies, what do we think in the chat? Frey pies real or not? I'm going to say real. I'm going to say that's going to happen. Should I do a poll, actually? For each theory, should I do a poll? Whoops. Yeah, and I'll have the live chat replay up, hopefully, so that if you're not watching this live, you can see how people voted. The poll I'm creating is... There we go. So, Frey pies, yes or no? Do we... the poll is out now. The poll's in the chat. Do we think Frey pies are legitimate? Or is it a crazy fan theory? Thank you for the super chat from the Swabian Bannerman, who says, "Hail thee, my fellow milk enjoyers." Milk emojis in the chat, everyone. I do like it. I'm trying to stave off milk. I've always grown up. I love milk. It's one of my favourite beverages. But, I have too much. Might not be good for my skin, so I'm trying to ease off it. Thank you for the super chat from James Ryan, who says, "Love your videos." Well, thank you, James. Any plot lines or POVs that you think were unnecessary to add to the series as they just overcomplicated things? Excuse me. Okay, I think Aris Oakhart's single POV is completely pointless. It doesn't need to exist. It could have just been from Ariane's perspective. Aereo Hotar, do we really need that? The camera that rides? No. I think if you're going to do a Dawn POV, just do one. Just do Ariane. Don't overcomplicate it. Just Ariane Martell. And then the Greyjoys, you've got you've now got 4 Greyjoy POVs. Like, do we really need Aeron? Do we need Aeron Greyjoy? not really. Victarion I can't comment on because we don't really know what ultimate purpose he'll serve, but like Asher I'm fine with, Theon I'm fine with, but yeah. Yeah, honestly, everything Game of Thrones to A Storm of Swords, I can't think of any POVs being unnecessary. Feast for Crows, you have all the Dawn ones that pop up. Storm of Sword, Dance for Dragons, like Melisandre. Again, do we need Melisandre to be a POV? Maybe that'll be important in the future, but as of now, we don't know. And it feels kind of pointless to just have a single male POV. And Jon Connor is kind of important. Quentin. Yeah, no, that's my answer. Quentin. If you had to cut one, I would cut the entire ugly frog trying to get with the princess, D&D party, going on a quest, subversion thing. I don't care. It didn't need to be in that story. It's so convoluted, so stupid. Get rid of Quentin. Go away, not relevant. I would cut Quentin if I had to cut one. That entire subplot is pointless. What are people saying? Okay, with 120 votes, we have 96% of people saying yes, Frey pies are legit, 4% saying no. The people who said no, are you trolling or are you genuinely like, no, those were just actual pork pies and the 3 Freys just went missing because they fell in the ditch? Or they went missing because there's a blizzard and they just got lost somewhere. Yeah, people are mentioning that Mel is important for Jon's death. Yeah, I think so. And you could argue Aeron Greyjoy is important for like viewing the Battle of Blood and all that stuff where we don't. But you know, we have Sam Tarly in Old Town, so there is a POV. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry. Orangutan says, but Quentin is alive. Quentin is dead. Trust me, Quentin is dead. Quentin is 100% dead. Shout out Orangutan. You used to be a patron of mine. Come back, brother. I miss you. Okay, let's continue down. So Frey pie is nice and easy. Sansa meets a Vale Frey. It says Sansa meet a Vale Frey. I guess the pie meat was distracting me. So there are 2 Freys that are currently in the Vale. Right, they are both the children of Jeremy Frey. Jeremy Frey is one of Walder Frey's sons. He's a Craighall Frey. They're the big burly ones. He's dead. Jeremy Frey is dead. In the appendix, it says he drowned before the events of the main books. So, yeah, in my video, I had him like floating in the sea. Whether drowned means he was in a shipwreck, or he fell down a well, or he drunkenly stumbled into a puddle, or a big tankard of ale. We don't know, but he's dead. His children are Sandor Frey and Cynthia Frey. Sandor Frey is a squire to, I think he's a teenager. He's a squire to Sir Donal Waynwood. Donal Waynwood is a member of House Waynwood, and he is currently the Knight of the Bloody Gate. So if you remember you have the Knight of the Bloody Gate, and then you have the Keeper of the Gates of the Moon. And the Knight of the Bloody Gate originally was the Blackfish, and then the Blackfish left to fight in the War of the Five Kings, and Donal Waynwood was made Knight of the Bloody Gate. And the Keepers of the Gate of the Moon, that's now a lordship. That used to be a non-hereditary position. Littlefinger turned it into... Littlefinger made Nestor Royce the Lord of the Gates of the Moon to bribe him into being a loyalist, basically. You can see that in my House Aaron video. I don't know why I'm rambling about that. Anyway, Bloody Gate. So Donal Waynwood is the Knight of the Bloody Gate, and his squire is Sandor Frey. Now, the Waynwoods are initially opposed to Littlefinger, and Lady Anya Waynwood is part of the Lord's Declarant, right? The 6 or so lords who say, we don't like you, Littlefinger, go away, you shouldn't be Lord Protector. But some of those Lords Declarant are moving onto Littlefinger's side, right? And I believe Littlefinger is buying up Waynwood debt to put himself in their good grace, in their good graces. So I believe that the Waynwoods are in Littlefinger's pocket now because of this act of financial generosity, which means that Donal Waynwood and House Waynwood are loyal to Littlefinger, and that's important because if the Waynwoods are loyal to Littlefinger and Littlefinger runs the Vale, and Sandor Frey is a squire to Donal Waynwood, there's a Waynwood Littlefinger Frey link that will become very important as we go further down the iceberg. I'll explain it later. But anyway, it's possible that Sansa could meet the squire of Sir Donal Waynwood. There's going to be a tourney of the Winged Knight to determine which 8 knights will serve in, this order, this military order to kind of like the Kingsguard, right, to protect Robert Arryn. What's his name? Sandor Frey could come along. Maybe he could take part and try and join or he can just be watching or whatever. But Sansa could meet him. Sansa could also meet Cynthia Frey, who is Sandor's sister, and Cynthia is a ward of Anya Waynwood, right? So you have two Freys who are two Craighall Freys who are both tied to the Waynwoods. One is a squire, one is a ward. If you're wondering why I'm overemphasizing that, it's going to become clear in a later theory regarding the Vale. But for now, it's possible that yes, Sansa will meet a Frey, a Vale Frey. Oh, hey, Sandor, nice to meet you. You're a Frey. And of course, how her response we don't know, because she probably sees the Freys in quite black and white terms as like, these are the people who murdered my mother and my brother and so on. I won't do a poll on that one because that's not super interesting. It's just she might meet them, but But the fact there are Freys in a Vale, that's very intriguing. That could mean a lot. Okay, Lord Walder dies peacefully. So there's a whole bunch of theories about how Walder Frey could die. I've focused on the main two here. For what it's worth, it's not going to be the same way it is in the show, in my opinion. I don't think Arya Stark is going to appear and cut his throat. I just don't see how that necessarily comes together logistically. So him dying peacefully. So the idea here is that it would be just kind of ironic and true to the tragedy of real life that someone as nasty and murderous and deceitful and monstrous as Walder Frey doesn't get his comeuppance that the fans so desperately want. Instead, he's an old man and he dies. Guess what? That happens. There are dictators out there, evil pieces of shit, who just die. They don't get their comeuppance. They don't get put on trial. They just pass away peacefully, because sometimes that happens. But the idea is that the moment Walder Frey is dead, boom, the spark is lit. Everything blows up. House Frey collapses in on itself because of all the, intrafamilial internecine warfare and all that stuff. Frey civil war, maybe some political assassinations, incompetence. House Frey will collapse, and I think Walder Frey's death could be the catalyst for that. Now, maybe that's not what happens. Maybe he has a slightly more satisfying death. Maybe he drowns. Now, why drowning specifically? Well, in the third Duncan Egg novella, The Mystery Knight, we see 4-year-old Walder Frey running around being a nuisance, right? I talk about it in my video. He's laughing like hee hee hee, laughing shrilly and hitting people and just being a brat. And Duncan is like, I want to put that kid down a well. I want to yeet him down a well. Or Duncan's like, why hasn't anyone thrown him down a well or something? But people think that this could be like foreshadowing 90 odd years in the making, right? That it's all leading to Walder Frey being thrown in a body of water. It could be a well, or it could be the river next to Riverrun, which would, in a sort of, in a kind of like, in a karmic sense, it would be quite fitting that he betrayed the Tullys, and then he's thrown into the river next to Riverrun, right? And he travels in a palanquin, which is like a litter with a roof, and is carried by people. Not carried by people. It would be with wheels, I imagine, right? With horses. Oh, that's just a carriage, though. Is a palanquin carried by people? I don't know. Anyway, the idea is that this litter would just be like thrown into the river by the Brotherhood without banners, maybe while he's travelling to Riverrun, or maybe when he reaches Riverrun and there's a second Red Wedding. We'll dive into that later, by the way, further down the iceberg. And then they just grab him and they throw him down a well or throw him into the river. And again, it's like the Riverlands are getting their revenge. It's similar to that theory about the snow in Winterfell breaking the roof of the Great Hall and crushing Roose Bolton underneath. And it's like, the elements are literally the North itself is getting revenge on Roose Bolton. Maybe the Riverlands and, the Tully essence is getting revenge by, having him thrown in a river, just like Catelyn's corpse was thrown in a river, and it'll be nibbled on by fish and everything. Now, the one thing against this theory, the drowning theory, is that the whole Duncan wanting to throw him down a well, that foreshadowing is already paid off later on in the story when he throws someone called Alan Cockshaw down a well because Alan tries to murder him. So the whole throwing someone down a well, already done in that story. So like that could be the loop being closed off there. But I don't know. I'm gonna say, let's do a poll for those. Let's do a poll for both of those. Do we think? So I'm gonna put Walder Frey's death. Do we think this wrinkly old motherfucker is going to die peacefully, or is he going to drown? And let me know in the chat why you think he'll be either one. Will it be the ironic, peaceful death that is a catalyst for chaos, or will it be a satisfying, karmic death where he's thrown into a river and old blind deaf man is flailing and then just drowns, as was foretold by Duncan decades ago? Let's see what people have to say. Oh yes, someone mentioning that Sandor as a name could trigger things with Sansa. That's a good point. Actually, could make her think about the Hound. Damn, Sandor Frey is just like two very traumatic names for Sansa slammed together into one innocent teenager who's just living his life. If Walder dies peacefully, I'm gonna rip that page out of the book and rewrite it. I could see George doing it. I could see him doing it just out of spite. Hot take: Sandor Frey is how Sansa reclaims her Stark identity. Okay, maybe. Thank you for the super chat from William Vasquez, who says, thank you so much, who says, where do you fall on the Grand Northern conspiracy? Do you think it's actually going to be shown happening, or do you think there are just multiple conspiracies in the North? I'm going to go with multiple, just because personally I think that's more interesting. I always think that like big, convoluted, unified conspiracies are always kind of lame because they're just so unrealistic. They don't speak to the messiness of life and the incompetence of the average man. That's why conspiracies about groups ruling certain countries or the world or whatever, it's several groups of powerful people probably in opposition to each other trying to influence certain things. It's not one big Illuminati doing everything, because that's not how human nature works. So I like to think the Grand Northern Conspiracy, there are various conspiracies going on. It's not one giant unifying thing. Like, I reckon Manderley has his own plot. I can imagine Barbary Dustin and Lord Locke maybe have their thing going on. And then, of course, Stannis and his and the Mountain Clansmen are doing their thing. And then they don't necessarily know about all that stuff. Yeah, I like to think it's separate theories. But then afterwards, these conspiracies will unite, and we're all going to work together because the North remembers. How are we doing with the poll? Okay, so it looks like with 140 odd votes in, over 60% are saying Walder Frey will die peacefully, and 40% are saying he's going to drown. So most people think that it's actually we're going to get cucked. We're going to get cucked out of a satisfying. Okay, thank you. Someone's informed us that a palanquin is carried by people. So yeah, he traveled. Yeah, so they lift it up over their shoulder, right? And it's like 4 people, and then they travel because Walder Frey can't really walk anymore. He has old gouty legs. So you can imagine someone just like pushing it into the river. He's like, ah! He's like Gollum in the river, just splashing about. No. Bum. He's gonna accidentally fall in the river. If it's an accident. Of course, another idea is, and I kind of raised this in my live stream yesterday, that Walder Frey, I always see it as Walder Frey's death will be the catalyst for the Freys blowing up, but it could be the Freys blow up before he dies, and he actually lives to witness his dynasty, his legacy collapse in on itself because of Walder's ruthlessness and spite and betrayal and so on. And he gets to see everything collapse around him, and he's the last one to die. It could be the other way around. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. It's bouncing around 58, 59, 60. Let's round it up. So we've essentially got 60% saying he's going to die peacefully and 40% saying he's going to drown. Cool. Okay, let's move on to the next theory, shall we? We're moving down the iceberg. We've gone below the water, right? So those were the classics. Oh, Frey pie. There are Freys in the Vale. Walder Frey. How's he gonna die? Now we're getting into some spicy stuff. So Blackwater. This is the Blackwater part of the iceberg. That drawing that piece of art is by the Marquis Gallery, I believe. So Blackwater killed Stevron Frey. So Stevron Frey, of course, is the firstborn son and heir of Lord Walder. He's quite a sort of reserved, polite, cordial man. Like his father, he respects family values and he respects his family, and he wants everyone to stay in the twins and so on, unlike his son Ryman, who's like a scumbag who wants to kick people out the twins if they didn't take part in the Red Wedding. Like, he'd rule with an iron fist. Stevron's more calm. However, unlike the late Lord Walder, Stevron doesn't seem to be rude and like mean-spirited. He just seems like a nice guy. I can't imagine Stevron like taking part in the Red Wedding, you know. I feel like the Red Wedding wouldn't have happened if Stevron was involved. So he fights bravely with Robb Stark in his campaign. They invade the Westerlands and they attack the village of Oxcross. It's more of an ambush than like a proper battle. But the Battle of Oxcross, big success. Sir Stafford Lannister is impaled with a spear. However, Stevron Frey is wounded. A minor wound. We're told it's a minor wound. And then, you know, he's resting in a tent. 3 days later, he dies. So there are two options. One, that's life, baby. That's medieval times. Someone gets a little cut. Boom. It can get infected. They haven't got modern medicine. More advanced medicinally than in our medieval times, because they have a citadel and a conclave and they have maesters and archmaesters. But even so, they could die. Look at Khal Drogo. The man got a little wound. Boom. It became infected. He ended up dying. Yes, you could argue Miriam Asper may have sped that along. But either way, Khal Drogo, big powerful warrior, little cut, he dies. Stevron could have been the same. However, it's very convenient that the heir to the twins gets a tiny cut and then drops down dead. Who would seek to benefit from this? Well, his son Ryman would, and his grandsons Edwin, Blackwater, and Peter Pimple would, because it pushes them up the line of succession a bit faster, right? It's quite opportunistic. Now, Ryman is a brute and a murderer, right? Ryman murders Daisy Mormont with an axe during the Red Wedding. But Edwin and Blackwater are both described as being worse than Ryman, right? In Merritt Frey's point of view, he's like, Ryman is bad, his sons are worse than he is. So I think Ryman probably no. Peter Pimple is just kind of just a pathetic, ugly kid who sleeps with prostitutes all the time. Like, I don't think he's got it in him. Edwin is like a excuse me. Edwin is described as a sour man, but Blackwater is dangerous, right? Edwin is scared that Blackwater may have been involved in Ryman's death. I don't think Edwin is the kin-slaying kind, you know? Blackwater is described as angry and cantankerous and vicious and so on. He's a man of action. I can easily see, he's this black rogue. I can easily see him sneaking into the tent and, smothering Stevron with a pillow or poisoning him with an untraceable poison and being like, oh, look, my grandfather's dead. Okay, cool, let's hurry up. Okay, next up, Ryman can die. Good. Then Edwin. Okay, now I'm the Lord, right? So... But that's still up for debate, because it's like, well, it's a wound, so he could have just died naturally, and there's not loads and loads of textual evidence implying it's Blackwater. We just don't know. But I'm going to throw that poll out there. So Stevron's death, do we believe it was due to the minor wound, or do we believe it was assassination? So, minor wound or assassinated by Blackwater. The poll is going out in the chat right now. So, let me know. And while that poll is being brutalized by you guys, let's move on to the next one. So, Blackwater killed Ryman. So, we have Stevron's death. After Stevron, his fat, drunken, whoring son, Ryman, becomes the new heir to the twins. He helps to orchestrate the Red Wedding. And as I said in my previous live stream, that probably means there was a board meeting and Lothar and Roose were all planning it behind the scenes, and, coming, and Ryman was just nodding, going, yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and then left and like took all the credit. He's like, yo, I did that all by myself. I'm sweating here. I need another prostitute. You know what I'm saying? But either way, he was involved in a Red Wedding. Nasty guy. But after he gets kicked out of the siege of Riverrun by Jaime, because Jaime's like, you're useless, fuck off, bitch slaps him, go away. Ryman goes to travel back to the twins, but he's captured by the Brotherhood Without Banners and hanged. Just like Merritt Frey, just like Peter Pimple. Now, this could be one of two things. One, the Brotherhood are hanging Freys. Maybe we know that they've potentially got some spies, like Thomas Seven Streams is a bard, right, who's at the siege and, is at Riverrun and everything, and he works for the Brotherhood, so he could have fed that information to them and be like, hey, Ryman is heading through Fairmarket, he's going to the twins this way, he has an entourage that's, 6 knights or whatever, take him out. But there's another theory that Black Warder is involved in Ryman's death, and Edwin himself raises this. So Black Warder's older brother, Edwin, tells Jaime, I think my brother may have been involved in Ryman's death. I guess the idea is that Black Warder has some kind of, enemy of my enemy is my friend relationship with the Brotherhood Without Banners, where he's like, listen, guys, I don't like you. How about this? I will pretend to hunt you, but I will lead people away from your trail, and in return for me kind of semi-protecting you, because we know Black Warder is trying to hunt them, allegedly. In return for protecting you, you can kill Ryman for me. Yeah, my father. Bring me up the line of succession. And he may have, tipped off the Brotherhood. Now, the question is, how would Black Warder know where Ryman was headed and how big his entourage was and everything? Because Black Warder isn't there at the Siege of Riverrun at all. He's actually, to begin with, he's at the Siege of Seaguard, which is the seat of House Mallister, and he's got Patrick Mallister hanging by a noose, and he's like, I'm going to hang your son unless you open the doors. And so Daddy Jason Mallister, of course, opens up the gates and surrenders Seaguard. It's the same tactic that Ryman uses with Edmure to get the Blackfish to surrender Riverrun, but it doesn't work that time. It doesn't work. And then afterwards, Black Warder's hunting the Brotherhood. But how would he know necessarily? It could just be Edwin being super paranoid. So, yeah. I'll throw that one up for a poll. So, the poll about Stevron's death, we have 64 are saying that Stevron was, yes, assassinated by Black Warder Frey. He's black of demeanour, black of beard. Of course, he would murder his own grandfather, who he doesn't care about, to sneak up the line of succession. And 35% are saying he did just die of a minor wound. We're going to throw out another poll, which is Ryman's death. If any of you haven't watched my Frey video, I break down every Frey, I pity you. You're probably like, what are all these names you're throwing at me? Who's Ryman? Who's Edwin? I'm assuming you've watched that video, because, yeah, I'm trying not to make it too complicated. But in my mind, I, remember all the Freys and who they are, but if you're casual, you might be like, dude, slow down. Who's Ryman? So Ryman's death, so was it purely the Brotherhood Without Banners, or Black Warder, or was Black Warder involved in tipping them off? In the chat, Boomler saying the biggest problem with this theory is that Lady Stoneheart would remember Black Warder being one of the guys who was, in the Red Wedding, killing people. He hamstrings Avance. Would she be willing to work with a guy? I imagine, I don't know, maybe. Again, this isn't really, Lady Stoneheart isn't Catelyn. Lady Stoneheart is a different creature altogether. So maybe they would be like, yeah, we'll work with you for now because you're helping us assassinate certain members of House Frey, and then when you outlive your usefulness, we're just going to target you and we're going to fucking kill you, and we'll kill everyone else, but we'll use you temporarily, So the next poll is out, and while you're deciding on that one, let's go on to the third and final Black Warder theory, which is Black Warder will kill his brother Edwin. Edwin is next in line. He's first in line to the twins, and he's terrified of his younger brother. He's like, I'm spying on Black Warder. Black Warder's probably spying on me. He's going to try and fucking kill me. He killed Stevron. He killed Ryman. So, I think Black Warder killing Edwin is very high. Very, very high on the list of likelihoodness. Did that make sense? That nearly made sense. I think it's more likely than him killing Ryman. I think he probably did kill Stevron. I think him killing Ryman is like, logistically he's not there, so how would he necessarily be able to inform the Brotherhood? But I can see him killing Edwin. I can see him doing that. I don't know how. It could be, informing the Brotherhood to hang him. It could be poisoning him. It could be whatever. But Blackwater is being set up as this evil, villainous guy. Edwin's a bit more of a coward. I could see Blackwater taking him out, because it's more interesting. If Walder Frey dies and Edwin becomes the next Lord, no one's really going to care. They're going to be like, oh, well, Edwin's a bit of a prat, but whatever. If Blackwater takes over, that's where you can have a situation where a Frey civil war breaks out, where people are like, I do not want to be serving under this psychopath who blatantly is killing his way to the top, and then you could have the different factions break off. So I think Edwin needs to die before Blackwater, and it makes the most sense for Blackwater to be the one who does it. Now, Blackwater is not second in line to the twins, he's third in line. Second in line is Edwin's daughter. However, first off, she's a little girl, so you could argue that legally, while it passes to her, in actuality, practically, Blackwater can just step over her and be like, yeah, no, the twins are mine. But also, it's rumoured that she might be Blackwater's bastard, right? So Blackwater could just announce that, be like, yeah, nah, she's my bastard. I fucked my sister-in-law. Yeah, she's illegitimate. Anyway, I'm now the heir. Oh, look, I'm now the Lord. Yeah, I think that's very likely. I don't think he'll kill Walder Frey, because I feel like he just doesn't need to. Like, Walder Frey's 92. He can probably just like, I'm just going to wait at this point. But let's look at the previous poll. 63% are saying that the Brotherhood without banners killed Ryman purely by themselves, and then 37% are saying Blackwater was involved. So we've got another 60-40 split. A lot of our polls seem to be... In fact, all of our polls so far have been roughly 60-40. Most people believe... Like 60% say Walder Frey is going to die peacefully. 60-odd% say Stevron was assassinated by Blackwater, and now 60% say Blackwater didn't assassinate Ryman. So I actually agree with that one, I think. And then we're going to throw out the other poll, which is about Edwin's death. So, is Blackwater going to kill Edwin? So this is just a yes or no. Is Blackwater going to murder Edwin to become next in line to the twins? Yes or no? It is in the chat. And before we go further down into the dark, watery depths of this iceberg, we got another super chat from the one and only Merlin, the COD, the house COD aficionado himself. So Haven, when will every COD explained release? If someone donates me $1,000 on this live stream, I will do every COD explained. There are 3 CODs in the entirety of Song of Ice and Fire? I believe. I know there's Left Hand Lucas COD, and I can't remember the names of the other 2, but I will unironically do a minute-long every COD explained if someone gives me £1,000. No one will watch the video. My channel will collapse, but I will do it. That could be a fun April Fool's one, actually, every COD explained. Maybe that should be Patreon exclusive. Imagine stretching that out into 40 minutes. Oh my god. Anyway, next super chat by Vandalman. Thank you so much, Vandalman8. Which Frey would give the best... What does that even... Which Frey would give the best sticky footy? I'm not 100% sure what that means. I think I know what the implication is. Is it the sort of thing that Laris would like to receive? Is that what you mean by that phrase? The answer is obviously Gatehouse Amy. Thank you for sending me the same question twice in 2 different super chats. That's very kind of you. Yeah, Gatehouse Amy. I think she can give you the best anything. And then another super chat by the Eternal Seal. Thank you so much. Who says Edwin's death is more likely than Wyn's release. Wait, that's a paradox, because Edwin can't die until Wyn's releases. Wait, what? Okay. We have finally broken the 60-40 split with my polls. We are now on 88% of people. This is with over 100 votes. 88% of people are saying yes, Blackwater Frey will murder his older brother Edwin. That's a big jump. 12% saying no. Let me know in the chat. Why no? How do you think Edwin will die? Or will he die? I'm going to end that poll, and let's move on to the next. We're going further down, and the Do the Raw guy from Shrek 4 is literally Littlewater, right? This is Littlewater if I've ever seen him. So let's dive into the Littlewater murder mystery. Okay, so this is something else. This is I've even got notes for this one. So, near the end of A Dance with Dragons, Winterfell is trapped in a blizzard, right? It's completely trapped. You've got a bunch of northern lords that fucking hate the Freys. The Freys hate the Manderleys. Everyone kind of hates the Boltons. No one knows who's loyal to who. People are dying. Some of them are, like, potentially being murdered. Some are, like, falling off barricades. Mance Rayder is there with wildling washerwomen. There's a hooded man who's being mysterious, and in the middle of it, Theon's trying to work out what the hell is going on while trying to discover his sense of self-identity. So it's very claustrophobic and icy and really fun. And then right at the end, what happens? Littlewater Frey, a kid, is murdered. He's brutally stabbed. He's butchered like a hog, and he's shoved under a snowbank. And Hostine Frey comes in, carrying him, stepping down the hall, and he's like, my nephew has been murdered. Who was it? And we don't yet know who is responsible. If you remember from my video, Littlewater is the fat little bully who was originally a ward of the Starks, but then became Ramsay Bolton's squire. So, he's just no one's crying over him dying, is what we can say. But why would anyone kill a kid? What's the purpose? Stannis is outside marching on Winterfell. It's chaos. It's murder. Why would you kill a kid? So the most obvious answer is Wyman Manderley is responsible for murdering Littlewater Frey. And this is because Hostine blames him, and he's like, oh, you did it, you hate the Freys, you hate us. And Hostine, like, slices his throat, and it cuts a few of his chins, but not enough to kill him, right? Like, he's so fat that the blade doesn't even, like, get his, like, sever his windpipe or anything. It just cuts through pure fat. Probably quite painful, and he could die of blood loss, but so far Wyman Manderley is still alive. Another thing is that Big Walder, who is the smaller one, the smaller kid, says that the last he saw him, Littlewater was going out to collect some silver from a White Harbour man, because he played dice with him at some point. And so the implication is he went out looking for a White Harbour man, and the White Harbour man stabbed him because he was like, fuck you, you're a Frey. Now, is it Wyman Manderley? Is it a Manderley guy? Probably not. And again, because why would Wyman Manderley do it? But then again, you could argue, why would he cook 3 Freys into pies? He's doing a little trolling. But also it's too obvious, right? When the book is screaming at you, it was Wyman, it was a Manderley night, you're like, okay, probably not. It feels a bit too obvious. A second option could be a wildling. So, Mance Rayder, in disguise as a bard called Abel, has been sent to Winterfell to try and save Arya Stark. And he's brought some wildling spearwise with him, and they're disguised themselves as, disguised as washerwomen, that's it. They're washerwomen. And they're kind of sowing chaos. Like, there's one of the bastard's boys is called Yellow Dick, and he's, I don't know why, but he is found dead, castrated, and with his junk shoved into his mouth. Some proper medieval junk food. Some spotted dick for you. It's not explained who did that. Wait, is it ever explained? Is it confirmed? But I think the fans generally think that it was one of the wildling washerwomen. The idea is that Spotted Dick may have tried to force himself on one, and she just fucking sliced him up. So it could be the wildlings are like, we need to sow maximum chaos in order to save Arya Stark. Now, of course, it's not actually Arya Stark. It's Jane Poole, who's being disguised as Arya Stark to legitimize Bolton rule over Winterfell, etc., etc. But they're like, we need to sow chaos to save Arya. Let's kill a Frey kid, because we know that's... And it does cause chaos between the Freys and the Manderleys, like mayhem. Do I think it's a wildling washerwoman? Potentially. Now, another option is Ramsay. This is the option that's put forward by the aforementioned Preston Jacobs. I'm doing better than I was last stream, because I'm recovering from a flu. My voice is doing that thing where, like, it's kind of fading out a bit. where sometimes my sentences are ending with like that. Last stream that was happening near the end. I was flagging. I was like sounding like RFK Jr. Like I was like, I'm doing better now, but every now and then my voice is like, I'm gonna have some water actually. Okay. So yeah, Preston thinks it's Ramsay. So, okay. So why? What's the motive? Well, for one, it could be that Ramsay's he's a nutcase. He's angry. He could have been like, he had an argument with Littlewater and fucking stabbed him. But the evidence... Oh, yeah, no. Or it could be part of a wider plot to stir up hatred and tension between the Freys and the Manderleys, so that Roose does what he goes on to do, which is he throws the Freys and the Manderleys out of Winterfell, and he's like, both of you are going to go march and attack Stannis now, because I can't leave you in the castle for any longer, because a civil war could erupt, and like I could be killed, my power could be that. Like I need to get you out. I need to restore some semblance of control. And like the only time Roose Bolton is ever described as looking fearful is when the Manderleys and Freys are attacking each other in the hall. When he's like, oh god, my power's at risk, right? So why would Ramsay want to do that? Why would Ramsay create the conditions for both of these armies being sent out? Now, I think the idea is that Ramsay wants Freys Freys are loyal to Roose, right? They want them out so that he can make a move and potentially murder his own father and then become the Lord of Winterfell and the Dreadfort. And, you know, maybe he can't do that if the Freys are in Winterfell, but if everyone's being sent out to fight, he could do that. Maybe, right? I think that's the idea. Let me know if there's like another reason for Ramsay stirring up tension. In terms of the evidence for this, there's like, you know, Ramsay's described as wielding a blade like a butcher wielding a cleaver, right? He like hacks. There's no sword play. He just like hacks aggressively, and it's said that Littlewater was butchered. So you can imagine that's kind of Ramsay style, just crazy stabbing. It's also like Ramsay hadn't slept, and Theon something about Theon notices something about that implies that Ramsay left his bedroom like in the middle of the night. So it could be that he went out to kill Littlewater. And there's the fact that Big Water is like caked in blood, and he's like, what happened, Big Water? And then Big Water hesitates and says, oh, it was a Manderley guard who he owed money from, and you know, and it could be the implication is that for people who push this theory is that Ramsay tells Big Water, okay, listen up, I killed your brother or whatever. Maybe he helped him, I don't know, but he's like, I killed your brother. I want you to lie and tell everyone that to imply that your brother was instead killed by a Manderley soldier to stir up tension. And that's why he makes a big show in the hall of being like, who would do such a thing? And Big Water hesitates. He's like, oh, well, you know, someone owed him money and he went to see him, and he was a Manderley, by the way. So maybe this points to Ramsay. I do remember one piece of evidence. I forgot what the evidence was pointing to, but Preston brought up the fact that Roose Bolton is yawning as he enters the hall. And he used this as evidence that Roose Bolton didn't get any sleep. No, I think he either used it as evidence that Roose Bolton didn't get any sleep last night, or that he did sleep last night. And I remember being like, well, you yawn regardless of if you've slept or haven't slept. Like, when you are in the morning, you yawn. Even if you've just woken up, you yawn. If you couldn't sleep at all, you yawn because you're tired. I remember that being a bit flimsy. But it's been a while since I've listened to that theory video by Preston Jacobs. Go check it out. It's called A Dead Frey in the Snow? Is it called that? I can't remember. But, yeah, the idea is Ramsay stirring up shit between the Freys and Manderleys so that they don't both get kicked out of Winterfell, and so then Roose is less protected and Ramsay can strike and kill him. I think that's the idea behind that theory. I'm not sure how much I buy that, but I can easily see Ramsay being the killer. Couple more ideas, of course, is that there is a mysterious hooded man that Theon jumps into, and lots of fan furore has been made about this. Who is this hooded man? Who's this mysterious guy who's in one scene? There's some theories that he's Hallis Mollen, who's a Stark soldier, goes down south, is sent to take Ned Stark's bones up north, ends up joining the Brotherhood Without Banners, right, for a little bit. No, he doesn't, does he? That's someone else. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway. It could be that Hallis has finally made it to Winterfell at long last. But now he's hooded and he's like scheming with people. And I don't know. There's another theory that Theon did it and he doesn't realize he did it, which kind of links into a separate, a parallel fan theory that Theon is the hooded man. That because he's become so insane from trauma that he's kind of got like a disassociative identity disorder thing going on, where like he's Reek and he's Theon, but he's also this third like hooded man, and he doesn't even realize when he's being the hooded man, but he puts on a hood and he goes around killing people, and when he meets the hooded man, that's him viewing himself almost in his own head, and it's like a split personality. I think that's probably not it's definitely not as it appears, though. It's not as it seems. But I'm going to throw that poll out there right now. Who killed Little Warder? Apparently in the Frey video, I mix up Big and Little Warder like once. And it's like, God damn it, I spent so long in that video and then I do make a mistake like that. Who killed Little Warder? I'm going to say, was it the Mandalese? Was it the Wildlings? I can only add 4 options. So, Mandalese, Wildlings, Ramsay. I'm not going to say Hooded Man or Theon because that's a bit too kind of niche. That theory's a bit too esoteric. I'm gonna say Ramsay or Big Warder. It could be as simple as Big Warder killed him because he wants to go up the line of succession and he saw an opportunity. So the poll is out. Who butchered that little pig? Was it, as the poll says, has the poll gone up? Wait, there it is. It has gone up. Who killed Little Warder? Was it Amanda Lee? And that could be Wyman or like one of his men. Was it the wildling washerwomen working for Mance trying to stir up chaos? Was it Ramsay with some either being crazy or having some kind of larger scheme that involves emptying the castle and like killing Roose at some point? Or was it Big Warder trying to murder his way up the line of succession? Let me see what the chat's been talking about. Preston's line of thinking always reminds me of Marge Simpson struggling with the door/wall in the police academy. So Preston's line of thinking is like, it's why he's so interesting, because he's clearly incredibly intelligent and he finds really interesting patterns that no one else does and makes comparisons that no one would think of. But half the time they are kind of crazy and they don't fit the characters or like the themes or the narrative that much. They're just kind of out there, or they like take things too literally, or they treat characters as too robotic and not as being flawed emotional people, or they treat what could just be author shortcuts and mistakes and laziness as a red herring or something like that. But yeah, I'd rather have an interesting but flawed theorist than a boring theorist. Let's check out some super chats before we go back to the poll. Edwin's death is more... Oh, sorry. Thank you for the super chat from the Eternal Seal. Thank you so much. Who says, Edwin's death is more like... Oh, I've already read that one. Thank you for the super chat from the Swabian Bannerman, once again, who says, Amory Lorsch killed Walder Frey. Now, that would be something. For those who don't know, Amory Lorch is a knight, a Westerlands knight who is one of Tywin Lannister's dogs. The other is the Mountain. Amory Lorch is another one, a violent psychopath. He, during the Rain Tarbeck rebellion, I believe he drops the last male Tarbeck down a well to drown, who's like 3 years old at the time. And then during Robert's Rebellion, at the climax, the sack of King's Landing, he scales the Red Keep with the Mountain, and while the Mountain kills Elia and baby Aegon Targaryen, it is Amory Lorch who takes Rhaenys Targaryen, who's, a 6-year-old girl, 5-year-old girl, and stabs her to death like 100 times in a bloodlust. So he's an evil piece of shit. He gets his comeuppance when the Bloody Mummers join forces with the Northmen and take Harrenhal, and Amory Lorch is thrown naked into a bear pit and torn apart by a bear. Now, you're telling me that Amory Lorch who is currently digesting in a bear's belly, actually, like a year later, kills Littlewater? I'm going to say no on that one, Chief. I'm going to say no. And thank you for the super chat from Coleshot, who says, who killed Littlewater? Fantasy Haven did it. Yeah, I confess, he's annoying. He's anyone who bullies Hodor, I'm going to enter the page. I'm going to break reality and enter the pages and murder them. If they dare bully Hodor, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to manifest that death. Didn't Preston once say he understood the books better than Gurm? I don't know. That's a silly statement, but like I'm not going to assume that's true because I don't know. Preston, since he didn't... Yeah, I haven't read the Preston fanfic yet. My basically, what I'm thinking is I want to wait until Winds comes out, and if Winds never does come out, and that becomes like a fact that it's not coming out, then I will read the Preston fanfiction, and then do videos about them. I'll ask his permission if he's okay with me doing like animated recaps of each chapter. But I won't do that until either Winds is already out or it's confirmed it's never coming out. Oh, and someone's bringing up the fact that Fat Walder reacts strangely to learning her little brother, Little Walder's dead. Yeah, she doesn't really respond to it. She doesn't have a response, which implies that she might know. So maybe it was like Ramsay and Roose working together maybe it's as simple as Ramsay and Roose were like, I need an excuse to send people out to attack Stannis because tensions are rising. So how about I forcefully escalate? I don't know. I don't quite know. Right. Okay. How's the poll doing then? How's the poll doing? 30. Okay. Big Walder is winning. So 35% of viewers. We have over 100. Well, nearly 160 votes in 5 minutes. 35% of viewers say Big Walder murdered his older brother, Little Walder, followed by 33% Ramsay did it, and then joint 16% the Manleys and the Wildlings. So it looks like people mostly think Big Walder, but also Ramsay's a close second. So we'll end that poll, and we will continue on down the iceberg into the death of Hostine. I do apologise for the picture on the side, by the way. I was looking for a cool-looking wolf, and that one popped up, and it made me laugh. The death of Hostine. So, I don't know why this one's so far down. This isn't even like a particularly controversial one. Death of Hostine is simple. Hostine is in the north. Hostine and Aenys are commanding 2,000 Frey men, as we talked about previously. Roose Bolton is sending these men out to attack Stannis at the Crofters village. They could just wait and let Stannis launch a siege, but like I said, tension's growing and Roose is scared. Now, according to a Winds of Winter sample chapter, so it's not confirmed, canon, but Winds of Winter, it says that not Crowfoot Umber? Yeah, Crowfoot Umber and his men dug pits in the snow. And it's in the blizzard, no one could really see. And so a bunch of Freys rode out as like a little scouting thing before the big march to the Crofters village, and a bunch of them just fell in the holes while riding their horses. Hostine's horse died, but he's still alive, but Aenys broke his neck when he fell. He just he just crushed under his horse. And Stannis is like, oh, perfect. That means the Freys who are attacking us aren't going to be led by the cunning Sir Aenys. Shout out Sir Aenys. Instead, they're going to be ruled by they're going to be led by Hostine, who he refers to as Sir Stupid. He's a big Craighall Frey, so he's a bit of a dumb brute. So the idea is that Hostine is going to make some kind of strategic error during the fight. This links in with the night lamp theory. I have thought about doing a proper animated night lamp theory video. That could be fun for December, right? Wintry vibes, maybe. But the idea is that, I mean, just to summarise Night Lamp, the idea is that there's a tower in the Crofters village, and that it'll be lit up as a beacon, and because of the blizzard, the village is in between two icy lakes, and the idea is that the beacon will be like a guiding light for the Freys to come in, but there'll be big holes dug in the ice, and so this whole army will ride straight into the holes, and essentially the entire icy film will collapse, and the entire army will fall in under the ice and will drown and freeze. And now, excuse me. Sorry, my voice getting caught in my throat again. Excuse me. And that will be the very my goodness, I do apologise. So I've caught the Giles Rosby illness right there. Let me get myself a bloody napkin. I apologise. Okay, where was I? Yes, and that'll be the first part of that battle. So, yeah, Night Lamp Theory video will be cool, for sure. But I think this one's kind of guaranteed, really. Like I said, I don't know why I put this one so low. I think even if the Night Lamp Theory isn't true, and the fans did get it wrong, I think that battle is still going to end up with Stannis beating the Freys. There's no way that the Freys are sent away from Winterfell and then they defeat and kill Stannis, and that's how Stannis' battle ends at a crofter's village outside Winterfell. That'd be so random. So I think Hostine is a fucking dead man walking, dead man riding. That's guaranteed to me. Even so, I'm still gonna throw the poll out there. Will Hostine die during Battle of Ice? So yes or no, let me know. I think I know what the results are going to be. Thank you for the super chat from James Ryan. Thank you so much. He says, what was the moment in the show that made you realise the show had gone off the rails and didn't understand the themes of the books? Excellent question. So, alright, so first off, I love the first 4 seasons. And season 4, well, even those first 4 seasons have flaws in them. And season 4 is kind of the earliest point where the flaws really start rearing their head, right? People say season 5 is the beginning of the end. Season 4, great season, but there are moments that are weird. The Orton Lannister, no, sorry, not Orton. The Orson Lannister discussion between Jaime and Tyrion, one of the worst scenes in the entire show. But anyway, I enjoyed the first 4 seasons, and I was coping hard during season 5. So for what it's worth, when I started reading the books was after season 5. So I didn't watch any of the show. Season 5 had aired. I was like, let me see what Game of Thrones is about. Was I 17? I was 17 or 18. I think I would have been 17. It was my second year of, yeah. And I just binge read them over summer, and I loved them, and I went, I'm now going to watch the show. When I got to season 5, I was like, okay, everything is different. Like, they have, and I was coping, because I liked the show, so I was like, oh no, it's fine, they've made some mistakes, they've had to cut some things, they're going to move stuff to season 6, trust me, they're going to move stuff to season 6, trust me. And all the online discourse was negative, and I was like, no, it's fine. And I waited eagerly for season 6, and season 6 came out, and it was the first time I got to watch Game of Thrones alive. And I watched season 6, and it was pretty shit. And I was coping all through season 6. And I think it was basically between season 6 and 7 is when like the cognitive dissonance dissipated, and I was finally like, yeah, no, season 5 and 6 were a mess. Yeah, they fucked up. They actually fucked up. I think if I had to pin it, I would say where I properly lost hope, and it's not even the Dawn plot, where I properly lost hope, and I think it's because I don't care about the Dawn plot that much in the book, so I didn't care that much about it being butchered in the show. But for me, it was everything in the North with Theon and Winterfell and Roose and Ramsay and like the North Remembers and the Manderley and the speech and the Frey pies and the Northern Clansmen and all the amazing fucking things, Grand Northern Conspiracy, everything happening in the North was so cool in the book. I was so hyped for it. And in season 6, the North does not remember. Ramsay kills Roose in the most awkward death scene since Talissa in The Dark Knight Rises. Dying in that truck chair. In the driving seat. It's the most awkward. Anyway, oh, what was I saying? I got distracted by a weird link. Yes, that's it. Not only was the bizarre and awkward death scene of Roose Bolton, but then it's Ramsay continuing to climb. Villainous Mary Sue. Everything goes right for him. Nothing goes bad for him. Until he is taken out, not by anything he's done, because actions don't have consequences anymore, but by the Knights of the Vale, Deus Ex Machina, and it's just fucking stupid. And there is no North remembers. It's Jon Snow remembers. Excuse me. It's Jon Snow remembers, and it's the Wildlings remember, and it's House Hornwood and House Mazin and House Mormont remember, and no one else does. And I was like, really? This is how you're adapting the Northern plot from A Dance with Dragons? Really? I despised it. And at that point, I was like, okay, you fucked it up. It was such a good storyline. You butchered it. And then post season 6 is when I basically was like, I looked back in retrospect over season 5 and 6 as an entirety, and I was like, yes, Talia, not Talissa, Dark Knight Rises. Talia al Ghul, the bizarre death scene where she's like crashes her truck and then she's like, bleh. I was like, what the hell was that? Anyway, the North vaguely recalls, someone says, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, see, the thing is, some people lost their faith after season 7. Some people lost their faith during season 8. Season 8 is when casuals lost the faith. Losing the faith after season 6 was like reaching Buddhist enlightenment. By the time season 7 rolled around, I was like, okay, the show has gone off the rails, the writing's got worse, I'm not expecting much. This is popcorn fun. I sit down, at this point I was at university, I sit down with my university mates, I eat some popcorn, I enjoy the show for what it is, a dumb fantasy show that could have been great but decided to be mediocre. So I watched through season 7 and I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Although the Beyond the Wall episode was particularly bad. I remember that one particularly being like, what are you doing? Oh my god, like, they're all just awkwardly trekking through the snow for what feels like hours. And they're like, you're a dick. Oh, what does dick mean? A dick, it means cock. Dick, I like it. Oh, I bet you do. I was just dying on my sofa. Not dying from laughter, dying from atrophy. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then they're like, we need to warn Daenerys. Shall we send a raven to the wall? Which is what you do when you go on expeditions. You send a raven to the wall. No, have Gendry get all the way to the wall personally. Oh, on a horse? No, he's going to run. So Gendry just like goofily runs all the way to the wall to then send a raven to Daenerys so that she can teleport in like an hour to be north of the wall. And the only thing the entire exercise achieves is the Night's King getting a dragon to break down the wall. They gain a white, and then they take the white to Cersei later, and then she doesn't give a shit. And so basically they traded a dragon for Jaime Lannister, because only Jaime is swayed by it. And the dragon allows the entire wall to come down, and Jaime has no tangible influence on the Long Night or the Battle of Winterfell. So it's complete nonsense. And then by the time season 8 rolled around, I was even more like, I don't care. I'm still going to watch it, and but I wasn't mad. People were furious online. I was just laughing. I was like, I already got through the trauma a couple of years ago. So I just watched it and was like, yep, this is dumb. But I'm not mad because I was expecting it to be dumb. And then me and my mates just talking about how shit it was. Yeah, and that was a big ramble. Yes, get back to the iceberg, so Alfie is saying in the chat. I'm so sorry. Let's continue, everyone. How many people are watching? Oh, we've got a lot. Oh, wow. Damn, I've moved up from like... Remember back in the day, I used to get like 30 people watching my live streams. I've got over 300. That's cool. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. Oh my goodness, I have skipped over a theory. Did anyone tell me about this? Excuse me. Let me check the chat. I'm very sorry. I completely skipped over a theory. I skipped over Lord Walder the Big. So, Lord Walder the Big, the idea behind this is that there's Big Walder who is like, I'm going to be Lord of the Crossing. I don't care. And if you've seen my breakdown of the line of succession at the very end of every Frey Explained, he's 50-something in line. That's including the women. Some people have commented saying you shouldn't include the women, but like, I don't see why not. Like, it's usual Westerosi rules is, you know, it's that you have the firstborn male is the heir, and then it goes through the males, then it goes to the females, then it goes to the brother. So, like, the firstborn son is the heir, and then the line of succession would be his firstborn son, then his secondborn son, and then his firstborn daughter, then his secondborn daughter, and then if they're all wiped out, his brother, and then that brother's children, and blah, blah, blah. So I did it that way. I didn't do it the Targaryen way, where they, like, ignore the women. I did it the proper Westerosi way. But anyway, he's like 50th something in line. And so, but because he keeps talking about, oh, I'm going to be Lord one day, he's a Sigma. Big Water is a Sigma. He's a grinder. He's me for real. He wants to be on that throne despite being so far down the line of succession. And so fans are saying, well, the series is the saga. I came up with like 10 different words beginning with S. The entire saga, the song of Ice and Fire, is going to end with Big Water on the not the throne, but on in charge of the twins. Maybe the Iron Throne. Fuck it, George. Why not? Subvert everyone's expectations. King Walder the First. But no. But how is that feasible? So there are 3 ways this can be feasible. I talked about this in my live stream a couple of days ago. One is the least likely. Every single Frey in front of him dies. They are all wiped out. Every man, every woman, every child, every baby, all 50-odd Freys in front of him in the line of succession are in some way killed, go missing, are disinherited, are sent to the Night's Watch or the Citadel or the Faith or whatever. They are out the picture. Lots of Freys are going to die, don't get me wrong. We're going to see political assassinations. We're going to see murders. We're going to see outlaw hangings. We're going to see wolf packs tearing them apart. We could see civil war, etc., etc. But I don't think we're going to see 50 entire Freys dying in the next couple of books. I don't know. And all of them specifically being because it's not just like a bunch of men. It's like also like 2-year-old toddlers. Like, how are they going to die, So, that's unlikely. Now, what's another way that Big Water can be Lord of the Twins? Well, maybe he can be Lord of the Twins in name only. So perhaps, hear me out, King Stannis takes over Winterfell, captures Big Water Frey, keeps him as a hostage, and then is like, okay, I now own Winterfell, I now hold the north. Next up, we're going to march south into the Riverlands. I am naming you, Walder, as Lord Walder Frey. You are the new Lord of the Twins, and when I sit in the Iron Throne, you will officially be Lord of the Twins. And so, that way, he technically becomes a Lord. Well, not technically, but like in name, he becomes the Lord. Now, this isn't like... no, this is likely. Okay, it's possible that Stannis does this, but that doesn't mean Big Walder will ever, in practice, become the Lord of the Twins, because I don't think Stannis' arc involves him marching north and taking the Iron Throne. His arc is in the north. He's going to die, and it'll be in the north. I think everyone kind of agrees with that. So, but it could be a promise he gives Big Walder, and then Big Walder is like, I am now officially Lord of the Twins, right? And then that little... There's a payoff there. His ambitions are paid off in the narrative. However, there's another option, a more realistic option and a more satisfying option that gives him control of the twins, and that is, remember I said the heir to the twins is Edwin Frey, and his younger brother is Black Walder Frey, but Edwin has a daughter. It could be Edwin's daughter, it could be Walder Frey's illegitimate bastard girl, we don't know, but she's a child, right? What if, by the end of the series, the very end of A Dream of Spring, well, it doesn't have to be the end, right? But at some point, what if Big Walder Frey marries Edwin's daughter? She's called Walda, with an A on the end, Walda. That means that when Edwin dies, she becomes Lady of the Twins, and he automatically becomes Lord of the Twins, and the Frey name is kept. Lord Walder Frey. Big Walder Frey. That's the most likely to me. It's not going to be all the Freys before him in the line of succession dropping dead. It could be the Stannis thing as like a fun little technical thing, but I think more likely Big Walder will marry Walda Frey, who becomes Lady of the Twins, then he becomes Lord. He's like, I fucking told you I'd be Lord of the Twins. Right? The Sigma of the Riverlands. The poll's still up. The poll is still up. Let me end that poll. So, will Hostine die during the Battle of Ice? It looks like 92% of people said yes, he will. 91 by the end of it. 91 to 8%. I don't think that's how maths works, but there we go. So most people say yes, Hostine. The people who say no, why? How will Hostine die then, if not during the battle? Are you like Frey stans who think Hostine's going to fucking destroy Stannis? If Big Walder helps Stannis fake his death and take Winterfell, he could... Yeah, there's a whole theory that Stannis will fake his death, which leads to Ramsay's pink letter. If the pink letter is unironically just belonging to Ramsay based on false information. Yeah, it could be. And then, Stannis' forces infiltrate Winterfell disguised as Freys or disguised as Manderleys or whatever, and then they attack from within. And then Big Water is rewarded by being made Lord of the Twins, yeah. Bum bum, bum bum. Who has a better story than Big Water, yeah. Brugly in the chat, yes. Brugly throwing a dub into the chat. Thank you so much, Brugly, if you're still here. Love you. I love you. He's my like. He's my famous friend. You know. When up and coming celebs have that one famous friend. Oh yeah, but I know Brugly. I know him from way back. He's just like, what, over 1 million subs? Watches my channel. Has watched my channel for like a year back when it was tiny. I don't know why. I don't know him that well, but I can just pretend I do. Oh, Brugly, yeah, he's my mate. Yeah. 1 million subs? Yeah, well, he watches me. He doesn't watch Mr. Beast, he watches me. He watches Fantasy Haven, of course he does. Yeah. Okay, well, let's throw in another poll then. Shall we throw in, the next poll? Oh. Is my stream doing okay? Last time it felt like we almost had some issues. I thought the stream was buffering. It turns out it wasn't buffering. We're good, right? We're good? Okay. Looks like just my PC's being a bit weird. The stream's still going. Perfect. Clipping that for sure. Okay. Right. The streaming page is being a nuisance, so I'm not sure if I can throw out another poll. I will hope that it sorts itself out, because I want to throw the poll in about Big Water, because that's a fun one. Anyway, while we're waiting for my PC to stop being annoying, let's move on to dun. Oh, okay. This is now the stream has begun. The stream that I was warming up. That was the prologue. Now we are beginning the iceberg. Red Wedding 2.0, Frey Civil War, and Vale Invasion. That's why you're here. Let me just double... Oh, are we chilling now? Okay, yeah. My PC's being a bit more sensible now. Okay, so let's quickly go back to how will Big Water be Lord? Because I am not going to ask will Big Water be Lord of the Twins, because it's going to be 99% yes, because people love that theory. So, will it be every Frey dies? Will it be Stannis rewards him? Or will it be Big Water marries Lady Frey? So, Lady Water Frey. Because that is the most likely. In my opinion, but I don't want that to affect what you guys think. Stay hydrated, everyone. There we go. What do your roommates think about you wearing merch around the flat? I don't have roommates anymore. I'm not at university anymore. And that was pre-Fantasy Haven, so I didn't have merch back then. Okay. Where's the option for King Walder the Big? King Walder the Big. Instead of Bran the Broken, it's Walder the Big. Can you imagine? You know how, like, the ending of Game of Thrones shoved in a bunch of endpoints that were clearly given to them by George, but that they hadn't set up, that they hadn't leaned towards. So suddenly it's like, Bran's king. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Why is Bran king? Imagine they were like, oh shit, yeah, remember George's notes on a napkin? It says, Big Walder becomes king. They're like, we haven't even introduced Big Walder in a show. Fuck it, whatever. Tyrion's like, who has a better story than Walder the Big? Just pans to some, like, nerdy kid sitting there, and everyone's like, you are the king now. Oh, talk to bad scenes. That council scene is one of the most awkwardly direct... Ignore the dialogue being shit. Just awkwardly directed and acted. Everything about everyone in that weird semicircle... Like, looking at each other, and like people would say something and then there'd be an awkward silence. It was just, there was like no pacing. It was bizarre. Well, no, sorry, the pacing was off. It was, that finale was bad. Shout out to Tyrion being like, hey Bronn, I'm gonna give you double what Cersei offers. And he's like, yeah, well, Cersei offered me a castle. He's like, well, I'm gonna double it. And everyone's like, oh, double a castle? The twins, where the Freys just got massacred, Bronn can be Lord of the Twins. And Bronn's like, give me Highgarden. I was like, what do you mean Highgarden? What do you mean? You literally just set up the twin. You know, no, here's the thing, by the way. I think what the show should have done is what some animes do, right? Where they go past the source material and they're like, we're just going to do our own thing. The show did its own thing and then tried to force what it had created into a preset ending that George had given them. It should have done. D&D would have got more respect from me if they did their own ending, even if it was shit, and you know the dialogue did get worse, the characterization got worse, etc. Even if they just said, we're not going to do what the book is doing. Our story has evolved differently. We're in another timeline. We're going to end it our way, and based on how our story has developed, instead of, you know, ending it the way they did, which is taking ideas from the actual books but then not building up to them properly. Okay, let's look at the poll. With over 130 votes, it looks like most people, 40%, believe that Big Walder will marry Lady Walder Frey to become the Lord of the Twins. I agree with that one. Although, very close second, people think Stannis will reward him, 36%. Stannis will be like, help smuggle me into Winterfell, I'll destroy the Boltons, and I will name you Lord of the Twins, in theory, if not in practice. And then only 25% say every Frey ahead of him will die, but that's still a solid number, actually. That's a nice little split. We're going to end that poll. That's pretty cool. Bran is crucial to Song of Ice and Fire, but Dumb and Dumber didn't want to use him. I mean, the future king being Bran, and then they cut Bran out of an entire season is genuinely quite funny. It's like, he's not even in season 5, and he's the future king. It's like, is that a good idea, Chief? Please no show, it hurts so much. Oh yeah, thank you for the super chat from Timmy Rosika, who says, please no show, it hurts me so much. I will stop rambling about the show. This is not the live stream to be like, what do I think it is? 2019? Why am I ranting about Game of Thrones? We're past that. We're beyond that. We're in the era of ranting about Hot D Season 2, apparently. That's what I should be doing, because that's what everyone else is doing. I probably butchered that surname. Rosika or Rosishka or something like that. I'm not sure. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Okay, shall we do it? I've been putting it off. Shall we actually? Let's fucking go. Red Wedding 2.0. Okay. So the idea here is that the Freys are going to get their just desserts. The Freys committed an atrocity against the Starks, and vengeance will be wrought upon them in cruelly ironic fashion. So we have to break this down. What will the wedding be? Where will it be? And who will be the perpetrators? And how will this even happen? So first off, what will the wedding be? We know that after the Red Wedding, a bunch of pacts were formed, and, you know, treaties and pardons and promises. So the Freys were all pardoned. Walder Frey's second son, Emmon Frey, was made Lord of Riverrun. A pact was formed with White Harbour for like increased trade, and like I said, for Rhaegar to marry Winifred and become the future Lord of White Harbour, which could have worked if Manly hadn't baked him into a pie, of course. Lancel Lannister was set to marry Gatehouse Amy, who is the daughter of a Darry, or the male line of Darry is extinct. The idea is that Gatehouse Amy would become Lady Darry because she's the eldest daughter of Lady Marya Darry. And then Lancel Lannister would become Lord of Darry, so it's just a way for the Lannisters to take over the Castle Darry. And then, of course, there was going to be a marriage between Tywin Lannister's bastard niece Joy Hill and a bastard Frey, of which there are many. Rhaegar Rivers, Ronald Rivers, Martin Rivers, Aemon Rivers, etc., etc. As well as a marriage between Sir Davin Lannister and an unnamed Frey. So Sir Davin is a cousin of Jaime. You know, he has long hair and a big old beard because his father, Sir Stafford Lannister, was killed at the Battle of Oxcross by Rickard Karstark, and Davin was like, I will get my revenge on the man who killed my father, and I will not cut my hair and my beard until I do. He doesn't in the end, of course, because Rickard Karstark is beheaded by Robb Stark, but he keeps his beard and hair long anyway, probably because it looks quite cool. He's quite a nice guy. He's quite a likeable character, actually. But Davin has his pick. Davin gets to choose who his Frey bride is going to be. There's a whole bunch of options. There's a whole bunch of unmarried Freys. Obviously, we have Fair Walder, who's very beautiful. That could be a choice. If Davin's like, hey, if I'm going to marry a Frey, I might as well marry Fair Walder. Gatehouse Amy is now open. Well, yeah. Gatehouse Amy is open and not in the usual way. She's open for marriage. It's not her portcullis this time. It's the marriage opportunity, because Lancel Lannister dissolved the marriage with her because he never consummated it. He became faith-pilled. He became a Volcel. He was like, I'm joining the faith, go away, be gone thought. And so if Davin did marry Gatehouse Amy, that could make him Lord of Darry, right? Or he could marry, there's a whole bunch of other, Taita the Maid, there are lots of female Freys, so it's up to him. If he marries Gatehouse Amy, he gets Darry. If he marries Fair Walder, he gets the most attractive female Frey. So it's probably one of those two, I think. But either way, a Lannister is going to marry a Frey. That's not a good idea. I think that if there's going to be a red wedding, that will be it. That will be the setting. It'll be a Lannister marrying the Frey, a Frey. Where's it likely to happen? Riverrun. The general idea people have is it will happen in Riverrun. So you have Lord Emmon and Jenna Lannister, and the Lannister branch of Freys who rule over Riverrun will sit back and host this wedding between Davin Lannister. So you have a bunch of Lannisters and a bunch of Frey guests rocking up in this big castle that belongs to the Tullys. That's not going to end well. Another reason people say it's going to be Riverrun is that there's a few hints about ways to get into Riverrun. Like, you can get in via boat, and there are theories that, like, people can sneak in by boat. And, of course, we know that at the Siege of Riverrun, there is Thomas Sevenstreams / Thomas Seven Strings, who is a member of the Brotherhood Without Banners, and he's a spy who's clearly, keeping an eye on everyone. And the idea is that he's going to help smuggle people into Riverrun. Which brings me to the next point, which is who is going to commit a Red Wedding 2.0 against the Freys, the Brotherhood Without Banners. The Ruthless faction. The Brotherhood starts off kind of wholesome, capturing people, giving them trials, etc. But then Beric gives his life to resurrect Catelyn, who becomes Lady Stoneheart, the personification of violent vengeance, and then she gets the more radical members around her, like the Lemon Cloak and so on. And then Ned Dane, who's an outlaw, breaks off with his faction of outlaws who are like, no, we don't want to be you're too brutal, you're like hanging people without a trial, you're being horrible, you're hanging kids, etc. Like Peter Pimple's like a teenager, right? So the idea is that the radical branch of these group of outlaws, jaded villains at this point, led by the murderous Lady Stoneheart, are going to, it's not enough to just traipse around hanging Freys every now and then. They're going to smuggle themselves into Riverrun, bunch of Lannister guests, bunch of Frey guests. They're going to massacre them all and get revenge. It could be, singers with bows and arrows. Could be leaping out with blades. And logistically, I don't exactly know how such a massacre would happen. But it could happen. And it could be quite satisfying, actually. And of course, there could be more people involved, right? So, because the Blackfish escaped, it could be that the Blackfish is part of this. It could be that there are captured people who are being sent from the Twins to King's Landing or from the Twins to Castle Rock. I can't remember. And there are theories that in the prologue of The Winter, the Brotherhood are going to interrupt this transfer of hostages and free them all, and even be like, join us as outlaws, right? That could be Great John Umber. That could be Mark Piper, etc. All of these prisoners are like, yeah, we're going to join you. However, if there is going to be a Red Wedding 2.0, there are a couple of questions, all right? So how is it going to be portrayed in terms of the morality of it? And how is it going to be portrayed logistically? Like, how are we going to see it? Because through whose eyes are we going to view this? Because you can't have something called the Red Wedding 2.0 and it happens off screen. Where, oh, did you hear what happened? They hosted a big thing and then the outlaws snuck in and murdered everyone. It's like, no, I want to see that. Like, we want to see that. But then whose eyes would we see it through if George isn't adding any more POV characters? Because who's in the Riverlands right now? Jaime and Brienne. Okay, well, they're not gonna take part. You think Brienne's gonna take part in a massacre of a bunch of unarmed guests? No, that's not gonna happen. Jaime, no, that's his kin. So I don't understand who the POV is gonna be. Let me know in the chat who it could be. And then going back to the other thing I said about like the morality of it, it needs to be, because, you know, George doesn't write just like satisfying revenge. He does throw karma into his books for sure, but he talks about how revenge is messy and nasty and like not a good thing. And the idea of fighting fire with fire means you burn the whole world down. Eye for an eye turns the whole world blind kind of thing. If you respond to one atrocity with another, that's not necessarily a good thing. So it has to be big and brutal, and it needs to I want it to invoke conflicting feelings in the reader. So I want it to be like, okay, yeah, some Frey scumbag gets invited, let's say Lothar Frey or whatever, and they get fucking an arrow through the throat, and you're like, fuck yeah. But then there's another Frey who's just a kid who gets butchered because he's a Frey, and you're like, hold on, no. And then you see Jenna Lannister, who's really likable, gets her throat slit, and you're like, hold on, no, we like Jenna. And maybe one like Perwyn Frey or Oliver Frey, one of the wholesome Freys who didn't take part in the Red Wedding and love Robb, maybe they are there, they're present, and they get caught in a crossfire and they get killed, right? It needs to be like kind of satisfying, but also a bunch of innocents are being butchered because they're violent, murderous outlaws. Yeah, I don't think it's... Some people are like, oh, it's too obvious to just do another Red Wedding, but this time it's against the Freys. I think it works. I think it makes sense. I fucking hate having that buff wolf on screen, by the way. He's been on Essos, so he's like making me uncomfortable. I don't know. I did it for a meme, and now I just don't like it. It's just distracting me while I'm trying to... What do people think? So I'm going to ask the question, is the Red Wedding 2.0 going to happen? So the poll will just be... Red Wedding 2.0 question mark, yes or no. The poll's out, going out now. What do we think? I've got it in my head. So Emmon Frey is described as being chinless and having like a large Adam's apple that's always bobbing up and down. And in my head, I'm like, I feel like if he's going to die, it has to be an arrow through the throat, right? An arrow through Adam's apple feels like it makes sense. I can see like he owns Riverrun now, so like he's at the wedding, he's hosting the wedding. Boom, massacre commences, arrow goes through his throat. He's like, oh, a punctured apple, if you will. Let's see what people have to say. Amy, Lady Paramount of the River. I mean, I didn't no, we can talk about that later. Yeah, someone's saying Davin Lannister, Fairwater. I feel like that makes the most sense. Because Davin's like, I don't want to marry a Frey, but I've got no choice, so it makes sense that he would be like, oh, who looks the nicest? Oh, that one. There we go. Oh, no, I think he also specifically mentions... I think... Doesn't someone specifically mention, like, oh, don't go with Gatehouse Amy because she slept with other people, but then they bring up that Fairwater has apparently slept with Blackwater, so it's like, even she has been spoiled, so, you know, maybe Davin will actually... If those rumours are out there, we'll be like, no, I'm going to go with someone else. Lanto is an Orth bro. Yeah, he's an Orthodox bro. Yeah, Lanzo is 7-pilled. Yeah, following the law of male preference primogeniture, the law to Darry should be Littlewater Frey before he died. That's true, but I think it's the sort of post-war craziness where they're just kind of like, we make the rules now. We are determining that if all the male Freys are dead, or all the male Darrys are dead, it's going to go through the eldest daughter, Maria Darry, and it's going to go to her eldest daughter, not her son, her eldest daughter, because we want a Lannister to take over Darry. Is that technically the rules? No, but we're going to skirt over the rules because we're the Lannisters and we're telling you what to do. So it's like, things are messy. These aren't codified in such a concrete way, right? Just like in, the medieval English monarchy, you'd have kings who would step in over nephews and be like, yeah, now I'm king. I'd win. Get out of the way. But yeah, now that he is officially dead, she is now officially 100% Lord of Darry. Lady of Darry, so... And Darry, of course, is now sort of a base of power for the Craighall Freys, and we'll be talking about that very soon. Oh, and of course, this could be an interesting time to introduce Aegon Bloodborne, the outlaw Frey we know nothing about. Imagine he rocks up, he's like, I'm joining you, I want to kill Freys too, let me tell you how, let me help you. Aegon Bloodborne POV. Yeah, people are saying Brienne or Jaime's POV, but like I said, what's the context? Because they wouldn't take part in it. Forced to watch it, I guess. Yeah, maybe it's like we're gonna make you watch this massacre go. But then how exactly does that go down? Are they like tied up in the corner watching it, or like how exactly and then how do they survive it? Jaime is POV, forced to attend against his will to help the Brotherhood get it. I could see Jaime being invited, but I can't see him forcing the Brotherhood in and being like, I'm going to help you smuggle in and murder all these Freys and all... Well, he doesn't care about the Freys, but murder all these Lannisters, my family, and maybe murder me. Even to save Brienne, We will kill Brienne unless you let a bunch of outlaws into River Run to massacre your aunt and your cousins and a bunch of... You know what I mean? I don't know, if it would... Yeah. It would make more sense if he was invited and then you just have his POV and then the Red Wedding 2 happens and it's Jaime surviving it but witnessing it. But him actually taking part in it, it's like, really? The Brotherhood could pretend that they just want to steal something, but in reality it's a massacre. Okay, we have Brienne, we will kill... Oh, that could be why they're like, why they want Jaime so badly. Jaime, go to the wedding, let us in, we're going to steal a bunch of fucking coin. And if you don't do as we say, we're going to kill Brienne. He's like, fine, I'll let you in, fucking Robin Hood. And then they come in and they're like, no, we're going to kill everyone. Okay, I can see that. Boomler raises a really interesting point. He says, I don't buy into Red Wedding 2.0. I feel like too many important Freys would die that are needed for Frey's Civil War. So I would see the Red Wedding 2.0 as the catalyst for Frey Civil War, where George will have to be smart. Not just every known Frey attends and dies, but like specific Freys go and their deaths lead to a specific kind of civil war breaking out, right? So, because not every single Frey has to attend that. It could just be a handful. Or maybe Walder Frey attends and dies, etc. And then the civil war triggers. So it could be that Black Walder doesn't go, and the massacre goes down, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm now the Lord. Fuck you!" And then the civil war breaks out. And yes, I'm being reminded that like Davin doesn't want Fair Walder or Get House Amy because they're known to be deflowered. So that does narrow down the options. But yeah, there's Tighter the Maid. He could get with Tighter the Maid. I'm thinking of Frey daughters that are like old enough but not too old, but also unmarried and unflowered. That really is a narrow. Anyway, but also you're like, if there was going to be, surely D&D, if there was going to be a Red Wedding 2, surely D&D would have included that. That's like a very D&D thing, Red Wedding 2. Like that's very... that's very reaction worthy. That's a Burlington bar's going to lose their shit over that moment kind of thing. Anyway, right, we'll move on next to Frey Civil War. Before we do, however, thank you for the super chat again from Timmy, who says, Davos the POV, Rickon and the Scargosi as the murderers. That's interesting. So the idea would be Davos goes to Scargos, says, hey, Rickon, Scargosi, come with me. And then they go. I don't think it works logistically. I think... Then their plot line is in the north. Them going to the Riverlands to get revenge on it doesn't quite work out. They're needed in the north. They're needed as part of the northern conspiracy plot. And I don't know why the Skagoti would necessarily care about massacring a bunch of Freys. And thank you for the super chat from Amy Post. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Amy didn't say anything, just sent a little gif, a little thing, a lemon. Thank you so much. A lemon hugging a thing. Awesome. That's $20. Thank you. That's really kind of you. All right, fellas. Shall we move on? Frey Civil War. Okay. So Frey Civil War and Vale Invasion kind of go together. They don't have to be linked. So the general idea of the Frey Civil War is that, presumably after Walder Frey dies, not necessarily, but after Walder Frey dies, various factions just attack each other for supremacy, and it's the rats eating themselves, right? They're not unified. They don't care about family. They are all opportunistic. They're all raised by a psychopath. And when the patriarch dies, they all just turn on each other, and it's very fitting. And it's what happens in dynasties where they get bigger and bigger and bigger, that they just become a threat to themselves, and they break off into branches and blah, blah, blah. So instead of just talking about the Frey Civil War, I've got a surprise for you. We are going to watch an old video, like over a year old. Quinna GM did a video about Red Wedding 2 and Frey Civil War. He did the Red Wedding 2 portion. I did the Frey Civil War portion at the end. So we get to rewatch that one together. I haven't watched this in a year, by the way. I've got it up, haven't watched it. It's going to be my old animation style, my old script style, my old art style, so it'll be quite fun to see. I'll try not to cringe too much at it. But I'm thinking of doing a revamp on my channel, like a proper Fate of the Freys, where I break down Red Wedding 2 and Frey Civil War and Vale Invasion, and I do it with new animation, new characters, new animation, new script, more in depth, all on my channel. I think I should do it. So let me get my headphones actually. Okay. Here we go. Are we ready for some classic Fantasy Haven? A second. Hey! Here he is. Okay.
And Red Wedding happens or not, Lord Walder is not long for this world.
This is my old mic as well, I think.
Right now, Freys are dying like flies, which may trigger the Frey Civil War.
Ooh, you can hear that mic quality. Not the best. Also, look at the old drawings. Look at my old Blackwater and Edwin. Oh, the tiny eyes. I used to have the tiniest eyes. Oh, let me on that note, let me close the poll. Okay, the poll is now officially closed. I had it open for 10 minutes. Sorry, guys. The poll is officially closed. What did the people decide? The people decided... I'm waiting for it to pop up. No, where's it gone? There it is. 78% of people said yes, there will be a Red Wedding 2.0, and 20% said nah. So 80 to 20. The people who said no, let me know why. Do you think it's too obvious? Do you think it doesn't quite fit with Gurm's style? Etc, etc. The furry in the iceberg. Listen, it's a fucking... There's a theory about... Oh, I didn't address that theory either. Oh my god, I'm just... Hold on a sec. I didn't address direwolf food. For some reason, I keep forgetting the... I keep skipping over theories. Okay, let me be very quick. So, yeah, direwolf food. The idea here is that we know that there's a roaming pack of wolves, and they're all following behind Nymeria. That's Arya's direwolf that she threw rocks at so he'd run away, so that she would be safe. She wouldn't get killed by the Lannisters. And so there's now just a giant fucking wolf pack. And George has referred to it, right, as his Chekhov's gun. Big old... You don't have a big wolf pack if you're not going to do something with it. And the idea is one of the many things that will take down the Freys, not just being hanged by outlaws, not just red weddings, not just fighting themselves, but there'll be some kind of, karmic comeuppance with wolves, the symbol of House Stark, tearing them apart. So I think there'll be more than one named Frey who will be eaten up by a wolf, I think. Well, they're all named Freys. Every fucking character has a name. Yeah. Whoops. Let's move on and let's watch the video.
Put on your genealogist hat.
Oh, it's my old avatar. Oh, look at my old avatar with the little shirt, the little bluey green shirt. My goodness, that's fucking terrible.
This is going to get messy. Lord Walder's firstborn son and heir was Sir Stevron Frey. Stevron has a son by his first wife.
Back then I used to use the sound effect every time something moved. Okay.
Son and a daughter by his second wife, and a son by his third wife. He's a polite old man trained in the importance of family values.
You don't turn your back on family.
Okay, the Fast and the Furious reference. Bit dated, but okay, fair enough.
Fortunately, he dies of suspiciously minor wounds following the Battle of Oxcross, leaving Ryman Frey as the new heir. Ryman doesn't care as much about family as his father, and neither do his 3 sons, Edwin, Blackwater, and Peter Pimple.
I'm very soft-spoken, aren't I? And quite slow.
The Freys produce a lot of...
Oh my god, I literally did a family tree. I see ya. Oh, I probably should have done this. I should have done this for my every Frey video. People were like, I don't understand what the fuck's going on. Okay, yeah.
Of sons. It's a genuine demographic crisis, if you ask me. Anyway, Ryman is later ambushed and hanged by the Brotherhood without banners. Edwin becomes the new heir.
Yeah, actually, that joke about demographic crisis, it is wild. Walder Frey has like 20 sons and like 4 daughters. That's not accurate, but like, that is strange.
Yeah, simple, right? Well, not really. You see, Edwin and Blackwater despise each other, and Edwin fears his tempestuous brother will attempt to kill him. Edwin's daughter, Walda, is technically the next in line, but there are many rumours she's one of Blackwater's bastards. If Edwin is assassinated and his brother seizes the lordship, House Frey might collapse into chaos and failure.
Okay, so, like I said, I haven't watched this in a year. So, let's say Blackwater assassinates his older brother, Edwin.
Frey failure. Freylia. There are many potential outcomes of such a civil war. Perhaps 2 main factions will form.
One of my tears was Freylia. I didn't realise I'd done a Freylia joke back in the day.
And each one...
Hell yeah.
One will seize a different fort. I imagine many Freys would rather rally behind an adult man than a potentially illegitimate young girl, although just as many would rally against Blackwater specifically. During Merritt Frey's POV in the epilogue of A Storm of Swords, he remembers his half-brother Lame Lothar Frey saying it's a good thing both men hate each other more than the rest of their house. Merritt considers Lothar to be one of the most dangerous Freys. He's the steward of the twins, and one of the principal architects of the Red Wedding.
That's a good point. So, Merritt remembers Lothar telling him that Edwin and Blackwater hate each other more than they hate everyone else. So clearly Lothar doesn't like Blackwater. That's evidence he doesn't like Blackwater. So if Blackwater seizes power, Lame Lothar, the steward, highly intelligent, executed the Red Wedding, isn't going to side with him. So that's already 2 factions. Of course, Lame Lothar is too far down the line of succession. He's from the 5th branch, the Blackwood branch. He's far too down the line of succession to ever be the Lord himself, but he certainly could be a puppet master.
Perhaps Lothar will rule as Walder's regent in opposition to his, half-great-nephew, I think. Maybe this will be the civil war, or maybe we can go deeper. Blackwater...
Can I just say, I'm sorry I keep interrupting my own video, but it's so satisfying watching my old stuff, because this is so amateurish. This is really amateurish, and then you look at my new stuff, and it's like, I've really improved. If I do say so myself.
His youngest brother Peter Pimple was hanged by the Brotherhood, and his daughter Pera is also suspected to be one of Blackwater's bastards. Damn, my man really gets around. His uncle Aegon Jinglebell was killed by Catelyn at the Red Wedding, and he had no children. So who comes next? Maegelle is dead and her children are Vances, and I can't see the Freys accepting another house ruling the twins. Which leads us to Walton Frey, who's alive and well. So that's sorted. Walton's the new...
Yeah. So, as I said, if Blackwater is like... Or if the rest of House Frey is like Edwin's daughter, Peter Pimple's daughter, they are both bastard girls of Blackwater, they are not in line of succession, then we move over to Jinglebell, who's dead, we move over to... is it... Maegelle Frey, who's dead, and she does have sons, but those sons are Vances, and the Freys might be like, we don't want Vances to take over the Frey name, let's skip to a Frey. Through the male line, ignore the female line. Technically that's what we do, but let's skip. Oh wait, no, it would skip over her anyway, because Walton Frey's the next male line. Ignore that. So, we skip to Walton, and as I said in my live stream yesterday, it's kind of curious that Walton Frey is very close in the line of succession. He's very high up. Like, after Edwin, Blackwater, and the two daughters, he is next, but we haven't met him yet. No one has talked about him, he hasn't appeared, he's just in the appendix. That's really weird to me.
Lord, the end. Or not. House Frey is a complex family with various interests. It's time to draw upon the theories of the Mad Maester himself, Preston Jacobs.
I got a lot of this from Preston Jacobs' Civil War video. I added some of my own stuff, though. I do want to revamp this. I want to do this one again for my channel. Maybe in a couple of weeks, that'll be fun. I'm going to milk the Frey shit for all it's worth. You see how successful every Frey Explained was? In 4 days, it's got 50k views. I'm going to do Frey content for, like, the next 3 videos at least.
Feel free to check out his Frey Civil War theory video. Lord Walder's second son is Aemon Frey, who was made the new Lord of Riverrun by Tywin Lannister. An act of pure kindness, and definitely not because Lord Aemon happens to be married to Tywin's sister Jenna Lannister. Aemon might want to press claims on the twins to expand his power, and would probably have the backing of House Lannister. Aemon and Jenna have 4 sons, big surprise, and their eldest, Sir Cleos, married Jane of House Darry. He was slain by outlaws, but has 2, you guessed it, sons, Tywin and Willem. Either one could press claims on the lordship of Darry, through their mother's side, which could also get the support of House Lannister. Let me tell you why. Lord Walder's third wife was Amorite Craighall, who produced 6 children. We can call...
Okay, so, we have a situation with Blackwater. We have a situation with the girls who might be bastards. We have a situation with Walton Frey and his kids, etc. But then we also have the Lannister Freys, who, in the event of this chaos, could be like, fuck Blackwater, we want the twins. And the Lannisters are like, yeah, we support you, because you're married to a Lannister and you have half Lannister kids, we support you. And also, as I said, Aemon Frey and Jenna Lannister's grandsons are part Darry, so they have a claim to Darry, and so the Lannisters could be like, well, the marriage, Lancel to Gatehouse Amy marriage failed, so let's try and claim Darry through the Lannister Frey grandkids. Are you keeping up, guys? You keeping up? So that way they could try and claim the twins and Riverrun and Darry. However, as I think I'm going to go into in this video, the Craighalls currently hold Darry. Let's see what I say.
This faction the Craighall branch, the Buff branch, or the Thick branch. Their 4th son Merritt married Maria Darry. That was a weirdly satisfying sentence. Their eldest daughter Amorite becomes the Lady of Darry and marries Lancel Lannister, creating the cadet branch, House Lannister of Darry. Except Lancel becomes faith-pilled and the marriage is dissolved. So now, House Lannister would probably prefer the Lannister Freys taking Darry, instead of the Craighall Freys. Speaking of claims, Lord Walder's 6th wife was Bethany Rosby. The Rosby Freys are kind of seen as the good Freys. After all, Olyvar was Robb Stark's loyal squire, and neither he nor his older brother Perwyn were invited to the Red Wedding, probably because Lord Walder didn't trust them. Rosalind Frey married Edmure and is currently pregnant with his son, giving her and the Rosby branch a legitimate claim to Riverrun. So, Blackwater holds 1 fort as Lord.
I'm not gonna lie, I was daydreaming during that last bit. Let me go back a sec, I'm really sorry.
Rosalind Frey married Edmure. The good Freys. Names. Lord Walder's 6th wife was Beth. Faith-pilled and the marriage is dissolved. So now, House Lannister would probably prefer the Lannister Freys taking Darry, instead of the Craighall Freys. Speaking of claims, Lord Walder's 6th wife was Bethany Rosby. The Rosby Freys are kind of seen... The Perwyn were invited to the Red Wedding.
Yeah, so then you have the Rosby Freys who... I'll do an overview once this is, done.
Giving her and the Rosby branch a legitimate claim to Riverrun. So, Blackwater holds 1 fort as Lord, Lothar holds the other as Regent, and Walton Frey wants both as their rightful ruler. The Rosby Freys want Riverrun, which is occupied by the Lannister Freys, who themselves may want the twins, and definitely want Castle Darry, which itself is occupied by the Craighall Freys. The pieces are in place for a civil war. But according to Maester Preston, a civil war isn't enough.
Okay, so to break things down for everyone, I merged some Preston ideas with some of my ideas. To break things down, you have Blackwater Frey might try and take the twins. Lame Lothar might find some kind of puppet. One of those puppets could be Edwin's daughter. Walton Frey could say, fuck those bastard daughters and fuck Blackwater. We want the twins. The Lannister Freys in Riverrun could be like, no, give the twins to us and also give us Castle Darry. The Craighall Freys in Darry with Gatehouse Amy will be like, no, fuck you, Darry is ours. We might as well get the twins as well. Then you have the Rosby Freys in Rosby, and we'll talk about the Rosby inheritance situation later. And then you have 4 different factions at the very least that might start fighting with each other. And there are different factions they could join, because we know there's Stannis in the north, something with Sansa and Littlefinger, maybe they're going to break off and do their own thing. We have Cersei and Lannisters down south, we've got young Griff invading, so each side could join a different faction, etc, etc. And then we're going to move on to the next part, so looking at my iceberg, we have Vale Invasion. And this is linked, this isn't, like I said, you can have a civil war without a Vale Invasion, but the Vale Invasion adds an extra bit of spice. This is another Preston idea, so let's listen to the rest of my video.
We need a Vale Invasion led by Peter Baelish.
Oh, Pattaya.
As well as...
Oh, Pattaya. Shout out to Roy Dotrice.
As being Lord Regent of the Vale, Littlefinger is Lord Paramount of the Riverlands, but Aemon Frey mistakenly believes that he is Lord Paramount. So, to secure his power over the Riverlands, Littlefinger needs allies.
By the way, can I just say, this is the attention that I pay to my character art. This is Littlefinger without a pointy chin beard, because after he marries Lysa, she tells him to shave it off, so he hasn't got a beard. That's how much effort I put into looking up what all the characters look like for you guys.
First off, Riverrun. The Rosby Freys can join forces with the Vale to return Edmure Tully to the lordship of Riverrun, with Roslyn as his wife and their child as the heir. Next up, the twins. Walton Frey is the son of Stevron's third wife, Marcella Waynwood, and his wife is Deanna Harding. So that's a strong connection to two Vale houses, both of which have close ties to the other by means of Sir Harold Harding, the heir to the Vale. Walton may need some help taking the twins from Blackwater and Lame Lothar. Finally, Castle Darry. The Craighall Freys want to keep control of Darry, and aiding
Look
the
at
Vale...
that old gatehouse Amy art is quite fun. I don't know, I dressed her up like a sort of, like a peasant almost, so she's got more finer clothing in my most recent video.
Vale would remove the Lannister Freys as rival contestants. This branch also has a bunch of Vale connections, including one Sandor Frey being a squire to Sir Donal Waynwood. If Sweet Robin is still alive, it makes sense for the Vale to restore his uncle Edmure as Lord of Riverrun. If he dies of natural causes, the new Lord Harold Harding would want to support the uncle of his new wife, Elaine Stone, or rather Sansa Stark, whose true identity Lord Baelish plans to reveal. If he pushes for a Vale invasion of the Riverlands, supported by Vale houses and Frey branches with connections to each other, Sigmafinger could secure the support of...
Sigmafinger, come on, did I really say that? Made myself laugh. How arrogant is this? I'm watching my old video and making myself laugh.
Lord Edmure, and therefore the Riverlords, ultimately giving him control over the Riverlands through respect and alliances, instead of just a formal title, as well as control over the Vale through Sweet Robin / Harry and the North through Sansa Stark. You know what, George? I get it now. Take your time. However the Civil War goes down, it would certainly be fitting if the family, infamous for treachery and backstabbing, tears itself to pieces. Thanks for having me.
Okay, cool. So, just to run that down, let's say you've got Blackwater, and also the idea of, like, the fact there are two towers in the twins, the idea of one faction claiming one tower and one faction claiming the other is obviously just too good to not do, right? It's too cool to not do. But what we have is, wait, hold on a sec. Yeah, there we go. So you could have Blackwater taking over one, Lothar Frey being a puppet to one of the daughters. You've got the Lannister Freys in Riverrun who want the twins. You've got the Craig and Darry, and then you have the Craighall Freys in Darry who are like, no, fuck you, we want Darry. You have the Rosby Freys in Rosby. You have Roslyn. Oh, and of course, one of the Rosby Freys is Roslyn, who's pregnant with Edmure Tully's child, and they would want Edmure Tully to go back to the Riverrun. So the idea is you have an invasion from the Vale. Littlefinger and Sansa push for an invasion. Waynwood, Harding, etc. They can join in. The Rosbys will support them because the Rosbys want Roslyn's husband, Edmure Tully, to be back in Riverrun. The Craighall Freys can support them because they want to hold on, because they have connections to Vale houses and, you know, Cynthia and Sandor Frey with Waynwoods, etc. And they want control of Darry, and they don't want the Lannister Freys taking Darry from them. And then you could argue that because Walton Frey wants the twins, and he also has links to Vale houses, the Vale can help him. So the Vale can come in and help Walton Frey overthrow Blackwater, Lame Lothar, all that lot, take over the twins. They can help the Tullys take over the Riverrun. They can help the Rosbys secure Rosbys, and the Craighall Freys secure Castle Darry. I know that sounds convoluted. I'm sure saying it like that without seeing any visuals or a map, half of you are like, what are you on about? But that's why I want to remake this video, make it more detailed, have a red wedding section, dive into it more, better art, better audio, and have it on my channel. So I'm thinking every Game of Thrones Frey explained is the next video for fun, and then we're going to do Fate of the Freys, Red Wedding, Vale Invasion, Frey Civil War, etc. as like wrapping up the Frey saga, and then we can, anyway, let's there we go. Let's carry on down the iceberg. So next up, speaking of House Rosby, Olyvar Frey is the Rosby ward. Okay, so what is this one all about? So, Castle Rosby is ruled by Lord Giles Rosby, aka literally me. He's a dying old man who keeps coughing up blood, and he's actually dead by the end of A Dance with Dragons. Actually, by the end of A Feast for Crows, I think. He rules over Castle Rosby. He has no heir. He has no heir whatsoever. Now, Cersei wants Tommen to be the Rosby heir. Tommen has no fucking claim on Rosby, but it's Cersei being Cersei. She wants Tommen to be the heir. Because it's like an important castle. It's in the Crown Lands. There's some food that grows there. Rosby and Stokeworth are kind of important lands to own in terms of providing food and trade and so on to King's Landing. Especially with young Griff invading and the Golden Company, you want that land to yourself. However, there is a ward. So Lord Rosby has a ward, an unknown ward. No one's described who he is, but he has a ward who he has named as his heir, I believe. And so Cersei's like, who wants a fucking random ward to be your heir? But then Lord Rosby dies. The ward is, I guess now, technically Lord Rosby. And all we know about this ward is that after Bronn basically takes over Castle Stokeworth via his marriage to Lolla Stokeworth, he kicks out Felice Stokeworth. She goes to Rosby and she's like, let us in, we just got fucking kicked out. And the Rosby ward says, no, go away. And then of course Felice ends up being killed by Qyburn, and then so who is this ward? Well, the idea here is that it's Olyvar Frey. Why? Let's break it down. First off, Olyvar Frey is half Rosby, so it kind of makes sense that a Rosby ward, that a son of Bethany Rosby of unknown relation to Lord Giles, would be warded by the lord of his mother's side of the family, right? That's kind of sensible. Secondly, Olyvar Frey is one of the wholesome Freys. He didn't want to do the Red Wedding. He wasn't invited to the Red Wedding. Clearly, it was some kind of sneaky bullshit. It's possible that the Freys, especially Ryman Frey, who we know wants to kick out disloyal Freys, was like, Olyvar's not going to join us. Fuck him. He can go to Rosby. He can be a ward in Rosby. Go away. Now, there are other Rosby Freys, like Willemon and Benfrey and Perwyn. So why Olyvar specifically? Well, Willemon is a maester, so that's irrelevant. Benfrey died after Red Wedding. Daisy Mormont slammed a wine flagon into his face and he fucking died. And Perwyn is a knight. And a knight usually isn't a ward. You're kind of a bit younger for a ward. So Olyvar is kind of the right kind of age. So it makes sense for it to be Olyvar. Now, and of course, if Felice Stokeworth comes to Rosby and is like, let me in, Bronn just kicked me out of my own castle, I can see Olyvar being like, you're a Lannister loyalist, fuck the Lannisters, and not allowing her in. Now, the argument against it being Olyvar is that Felice Stokeworth calls him Illborn. But Illborn doesn't necessarily mean bastard. It could be more colloquial. It could be Illborn as in he's the son of Walder Frey, and Walder Frey is famous for being like a treacherous old stoat. So it could be like he's Illborn because he's a Frey, which might be a bit of a stretch. And also he's described as not being of Rosby blood, but that could just mean he is not directly descended from Giles. Or that it could just mean that he is of House Frey, and though he is half Rosby, he is a Frey, not a Rosby, maybe. I don't know. So it's kind of messy. We don't fully know whether it's Olyvar or not. But the idea would be Olyvar becomes Lord Rosby. That feeds into the whole Frey civil war with different Frey branches forming factions and holding different castles and bases of support. And Lord Olyvar Frey, the new Lord of Rosby. What could his new name be? Frosby? Lord Frosby? Lord of Ray? Lord Raisby? Okay, that one kind of goes hard. Anyway, so Olyvar could be the Lord, and Maybe he joins young Griff, right? Maybe young Griff comes in and Lord Bronn of Stokeworth says, I'm supporting young Griff. Lord Oliver of Rosby, I'm supporting young Griff, and then they get rewarded after young Griff overthrows Cersei, right? Maybe. But that's a fun one. Oliver Frey being the Rosby ward, who's also the Rosby heir and is going to take over. That's a classic one. You know what? I haven't done a poll. I didn't do a poll about the Red Wedding. I'm so sorry. Let's do a Red Wedding related poll. What should it be? I guess it would be what is the Red Wedding gonna happen? Is that the poll? Yeah, let's do it. Red Wedding ? So yes or no, is Red Wedding 2.0 gonna go down? Then I'll do similar polls for is there going to be a Frey civil war, and is there going to be a Vale invasion? And then I'll see what you lot have to say. Give me a sec. All right. Once again, my PC's acting up a bit, so yeah, let me just try and sort that out so I can do more polls. But while the poll results are going in, let's dive even further down the icy, dark depths. Arya will kill Bradamar Frey. So this is a niche one. We're in the dark. This is where the sea creatures we haven't even heard of are swimming this part of the iceberg. Like, what even is this? Who's Bradamar Frey? So Bradamar Frey is one of the 3 children of Simond Frey. Simond is a Craighall Frey, the big burly brutes. He's the spy master who gets cut up into a pie. I talked about him earlier. He is married to Betharios of Bravos. Now, I don't know anything about Betharios. She's not given a surname, so that implies she's not necessarily of a noble Bravosi house. The vibe I get from him marrying, like, just a random Bravosi who isn't noble, that gives me, like, a rich guy with a young Asian wife vibes, right? He just has, like, a foreign trophy wife. And of course, the Craighall Freys are not known for being good looking, but Alex Frey, who is one of his only daughter with Betharios, is described as being basically the second most attractive Frey behind Fair Warder, so we can imagine the wife is quite good looking. So the 3 kids he has with his Bravosi trophy wife are Alessander, Alex, and Bradamar. Whoopsie, mic jump scare, knocked it over. I've had a broken mic for a while now. I need to do something about that. It doesn't have a stand. It's literally leaning on itself. Anyway, Alessander is a singer, and he isn't invited to the Red Wedding, so he's probably like a nice, compassionate guy who's opposed to the Red Wedding, and so they kicked him out. Alex Frey, nubile Frey, good-looking Frey woman. She's at the Red Wedding. She doesn't take part in it, of course. She disappears with all the ladies. And then there's Bradamar Frey, who doesn't appear in the story, but if you go to the appendix, you find out that Bradamar Frey is in Bravos. He is being warded by a Bravosi merchant called Orotendiris. So essentially, he's essentially being like, he's doing like a business scholarship. he's essentially learning the trade from a Bravosi merchant. I don't know if Orotendiris is like related to Betharios or Bravos. Like, could that be Bradamar's uncle? I don't know. But either way, he is in Bravos. Who else is in Bravos? Arya Stark, training to be an assassin. What happens when a little psychopathic assassin discovers a Frey in Bravos? She's going to kill the fuck out of him. There's a chance that Arya will bump into Bradamar Frey and will murder him. I also, I make a joke about the 2 foreign Freys, like, just chilling in Essos. Bradamar is one. The other one is Malwyn Frey, who is one of Raymond Frey's sons, who's in Lys, learning to be an alchemist's assistant. I couldn't find any theories about him, or I didn't have much time, but like I couldn't think of any either. Like, could he come into play? Malwyn Frey, an alchemist apprentice in Lys? Is he going to interact? Could he interact with the Golden Company? Could he interact with Edric Storm and Jade Blackberry? And I don't know, but Yeah. What did the poll say, by the way? Let's have a look. Red Wedding 2.0, 83% of you are saying yes, Red Wedding 2.0 is going to happen. 19% say no. So 80 to 20, basically. Overwhelming people think Red Wedding is going to happen. Let's do another poll. The next poll is going to be Frey Civil War. Is the Frey Civil War going to happen, yes or no? I imagine the results will be similar because these theories are all kind of linked together, not inherently, but like you can have a civil war without Red Wedding, you can have a Red Wedding without a civil war, but do you think it's going to happen? This isn't, do you want it to happen? Do you think it's going to happen? Okay, this is like 90 to 10%. Okay, this is different now. The last poll was 80 to 20. This is 90 to 10. People overwhelmingly believe, with about 50 votes in, that there is going to be a Frey Civil War. And I agree. I think it's more, personally, I think it's more likely than a second Red Wedding. I think the Frey's, not necessarily Preston's interpretation of the Frey Civil War specifically, but just the idea of the Freys turning on themselves after Walder Frey's death. It just feels like it needs to happen. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. We did that poll already. No, we didn't. We haven't done a Frey Civil War poll. We did a Red Wedding poll. Okay. Yeah, looks like we're sticking at around 90, 10%. We're ending that poll. And we're going to do another one. So again, this one's a bit more niche. Vale invasion. Do you think that Littlefinger and Sansa will, with the support of houses that have married into House Frey, are they going to invade the Riverlands to help certain Freys take over certain castles and help Edmure take over Riverrun again in order for Peter Baelish to cement himself as the legitimate Lord Paramount of the Trident, who's actually respected? Because so far it's just a title that has no power associated with it. So Vale invasion ? Will the Vale invade the Riverlands and pick a certain side in the Frey Civil War? Yes or no? That one's now in the chat. So while we're waiting for that to go down, let's check out some super chats, and then we'll go further down the iceberg. We've got a couple more rungs left in the iceberg. That's not very good. That's a weird metaphor. Rungs in the iceberg. That doesn't quite make sense. Anyway, thank you for the super chat from Alive Again, who says, is the direwolf food supposed to be Robert Red Wedding? No, you must have sent that before I explained it. No, direwolf food is just Nymeria and a roaming pack of wolves are going to fuck up some Freys. Arya, again, we know that Arya has wolf dreams, and the implication is that she's warging Nymeria when she sleeps without, like, realising it. She's already, through Nymeria, has eaten, like, some brave companions, I think. I can easily see Arya having a dream where she's a wolf and she eats some Freys. But yeah, no, what Alive Again is referencing is the very dark theory that Robb died twice at the Red Wedding. That when Robb died, he warged into Greywind, because we know that can happen. We know that skin changers can warg into their animals. So, for example, Varamir Sixskins does it, and people theorize that Jon Snow's going to do that. When Jon Snow dies at the end of A Dance with Dragons, he's going to warg into Ghost, so that when he's resurrected, he walks back into himself, and maybe there's something. Maybe he becomes more wolfish, more of a predator, or maybe it actually saves his mind. Maybe it kind of stops him from being resurrected as a psycho. I'm not sure, but the idea is that Robb walks into Greywind after dying at the Red Wedding, and then Greywind is killed by Sir Waelon Frey and his goons. So Robb dies twice, which is quite horrific. Although not before killing like a couple of Freys, I think. And it's not confirmed that Robb is a warg, but it's heavily implied he is. And thank you for the super chat from Robert Cosina. Thank you so much. Who says, just sending this to support Frey content. I hope for honourable mention of Sandor Frey. Shout out to Sandor Frey. I hope you're enjoying this Frey content. And yeah, Sandor Frey. Will Sansa meet him in the Vale? Is he going to take part in the Tournament of the Winged Knight? That would be quite cool. How is the poll doing? Okay, this is different. Before we had some overwhelming responses. This is still a decisive yes vote, but it's not as strong as the other one. 65% of people, about 80 votes, saying yes, there will be a Vale invasion. 35% saying no, because yeah, that doesn't surprise me. it's a cool idea, but like we're not entirely sure, because like maybe Sansa and Littlefinger are going to focus on the north before the Riverlands. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to do one more poll before I move on down the iceberg, and that one is: do you guys think will Arya kill Bradamar Frey? So the merchant's ward in Bravos. Will Arya kill Bradamar Frey? Let me know. And thank you once again for the super chat from Alive Again, who says, it was the image, not the idea for direwolf food. Oh, I see. You're saying, is the direwolf food supposed to be Robert the Red Wedding? Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant the theory. No, you're talking about the Frey, Jared Frey, saying that Robb Stark turned into a fucking wolf and tore people apart. Yeah, no, that's just... I just typed in cool wolf and that appeared, and I thought it was fucking dumb, so I added it. But that is what Jared Frey sees in his nightmares. He fears the buff wolf who tried to kill his father, the late Lord Frey. Okay, shall we move on? I think we're going to move on. The penultimate. Walder Frey is a Garth Greenhand reborn. So this isn't a theory I found online, I don't think. This is a theory from one of my patrons. He raised it a few days ago, semi-jokingly. So I'm going to read out his exact comment. Shout out to Cal. I don't know if you're watching this, Cal, but this is your theory. This is what he said. New theory about Walder Frey. He's the reincarnation of Garth Greenhand. Garth led men across the Arm of Dawn, a bridge from Essos to Westeros. Walder Frey now leads men from the north to the Riverlands across his bridge. Okay, he's a bridge guy. Both sowed their seed and had many children. That's true. Many great lords... So, Garth Greenhand had load of kids who went on to found powerful houses. Walder Frey, he's got kids that are, House Frey of Riverrun, House Frey of Darry, House Frey of Rosby, maybe. The comment continues. Both sowed their... Many great lords sought Garth's hand in marriage, and now a king wished to marry into Walder's family, humbly asking for the hand of his daughter as a lord of the Riverlands after him. So Walder Frey is the next generation's Garth Greenhand. If we're being honest, we can skip all of the other stuff. It's mostly about the fact that Walder Frey fucks a lot and has lots of kids, and Garth Greenhand had a lot of kids. And as you can see by this cropped image I found online, it's Garth Greenhand and all the houses that came from him. So House Fossaway, House Tarly, House Rowan, and House Ball are the 5 that we can actually see on there. But he also Floren and so on. He lacks the jawline to be Walder Frey. Yeah, I feel like Garth Greenhand had more of a Chad energy that Walder doesn't quite have. Okay, so, oh my god, will Arya kill Bradamar Frey is split at 50-50. 80 votes in, we're dead on 50-50. So the people who say no, why no? So the people who say yes, I know why. It's because Bradamar is in Bravos, Arya's in Bravos, she hates the Frey, she's going to kill a Frey. Okay, sure. Why no? People who voted no, why do you think that isn't going to go down? Is it because it will mess with Arya's arc in some way, or do you think it will be too contrived even, or do you think George just doesn't, threw that in the appendix years ago and forgot that who Bradamar is? Okay, now we've now hit 51 to 49 yes, so I'm going to end the poll there. So yes, most people, just about tiny margin, think that Arya's going to kill Bradamar Frey and Bravos. But tell me why no. If you said no, let me know why. And now I do believe we have reached... Oh, I'm not going to ask people, is Walder Frey Garth Greenhand reborn? Because that's objectively yes. Yes, he is. Okay, the reason someone's given is there's been no foreshadowing. That's true. Not everything needs foreshadowing, though. It hasn't been foreshadowed in a smart way, but in the sense of just the facts as they are. Arya hates Freys, she's in Bravos, Frey is in Bravos, Arya's training to be an assassin, she's murdering people. I think it's not controversial to say she might bump into Bradamar Frey and murder him. She's already murdered Darion, by the way. There's a Night's Watch member, if you remember, called Darion, who's sent to Braavos as a traveling crow to recruit people to join the Night's Watch. But when he gets to Braavos, he just abandons the Night's Watch. It's like, fuck you, I just want to get high and sleep with people in Braavos and have fun and be a singer. And Arya overhears him, is like, oh, okay, so you're breaking Night's Watch vows, you're betraying your Lord Commander, I'm going to kill you and steal your shoes. So she literally kills him and steals his shoes. It's very dark. Theory of Ice and Fire says, my theory is that Arya will be sent to a courtesan of Braavos as an assistant and will kill men who cause trouble there. There's a place and an extra reason for Bradamar to die. Perhaps, yeah, perhaps. My mother has joined me in watching this. Well, hello, NRB's mother. Hope you're enjoying a House Frey theory, Iceberg. I don't know if that means anything to you, but hi. Maybe she sees he's a nice Frey and doesn't kill him. That could be lovely. But unfortunately, she killed Darien. Darien's biggest flaw was just being a slight asshole, and abandoning the Night's Watch. And she takes it in. She's only like, how old is Arya? Like 11 or something? She like 10 or. She kills him. She murders him and takes his boots. She's gone down a super dark path. So yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to the darkest, the deepest, the most warped theory of them all? The Omni-Warder. Dun, 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 dun. So, this incredible theory was concocted during a live stream between Glidus and Alt-Swift-X, the arch-nemesis of Alt-Shift-X. So, the Omni-Warder takes many forms. We can debate about it in the chat, but the general idea, the general consensus, is that every single Warder Frey is the same Warder Frey. Take that as you will. I'll let you know what that means. So, first off, is it time-travelling Warder Frey? So, is every single Warder Frey the same Warder Frey time-travelling? So is Big Warder Frey as a kid, and his little Warder Frey is a slightly younger kid, but he was really fat then before he lost weight, and then Red Warder, he's in Castle Rock, and then he time-travels and he becomes... what else is there? Bastard Warder at some point, and then he makes his way up through the timeline and becomes... Or is it a hive mind situation? The time travel doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it's a hive mind, right? Maybe he's harnessed the power of the old gods, and every Warder is the same Warder. Black Warder, Bastard Warder, Red Warder, Little Warder, Big Warder, Chungus Warder. They all have this. They are all acting the same. Now, he can't do that to all of his offspring, right? Stevron Frey, he can't do it. Aenys Frey, he can't do it. Hostine, he can't, because they're not called Warder. And you know what's interesting? Warder Frey has stated in the books he doesn't like the fact that all of his kids keep bending over backwards and naming their sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters after him. So if you notice, none of Warder Frey's sons are called Warder, and none of his daughters are called Warda. It's actually his sons and daughters who are naming their sons and daughters Warder and Warda. And Warder Frey's like, stop sucking up to me. It's annoying. I can't keep them all straight. So why would Warder not... You know, he's an arrogant guy, right? He's kind of full of himself. Why wouldn't he name anyone after him? Because he knows at the moment there's more than one Warder Frey, the hive mind begins. So he's like, I don't want that responsibility. But now he has grandsons and great-grandsons and great-great-grandsons who are called Warder Frey, and they are connected to him forever. And so he feels their emotions. When Little Warder was stabbed to death, Warder Frey felt that. Right? When Bastard Warder gets angry, he feels that. When Black Warder, I don't know, murders Stevron, Warder Frey's like, we did that together. I wanted Ryman to be the heir. We did that together. I don't know what else. I'm flailing here. What else could Omni Warder mean? What could it be if not time travel or a hive mind? The theory grows even deeper. He controls all warders at the same time. They grow in numbers, which stresses him. Soon they will overtake him. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it was also... Someone's, like, reminding me, it is worth bringing up that Gatehouse Amy being... the infamously promiscuous Gatehouse Amy being the new lady of Castle Darry, and the Darry sigil is a ploughman. A ploughing man. Okay. Probably not intentional. People read a bit too much into Song of Ice and Fire and they think George planned every tiny meticulous detail, but like that one's kind of funny. Whether it's intentional or not, it's funny. Okay, this is, of course... Are there any... Okay, before we wrap up, are there any other Frey theories that I didn't bring up? Let me know in the chat. Are there any Frey theories I didn't even mention? Books or shows? But the book or the show. It could be either. Let me get some water. Oh, Walter. Yeah, Walder Frey does have a son called Waltyr, but he's not part of the hive mind. It has to be Walder. Can I just say Walder is a dumb name? Can I just say? Because obviously what he likes to do, George likes to take real life names, medieval names, not always medieval, but like he adjusts them slightly. So, you know, Richard becomes Rickard. Okay, that's cool. Edward becomes Eddard. Fine. He took Walter and he made Walder. That's kind of... Does no one else think that's kind of dumb? That Walder with a D is just like an inherently stupid name. I feel the same way about Ned, actually. I couldn't... When I started reading and I was like, there's a character called Ned, I couldn't take that seriously. Because Ned is not really a nickname in the UK. Like, Edward... No one called Edward goes by Ned. It's more of an American thing, I think. So when I saw Ned, I just thought of Ned Flanders, because that's the only Ned I know. And I'm just like, Ned? Someone's called Ned Stark? That's like... But then, of course, it grew on me. A big Walder Frey faking a letter to Winterfell. That's not really a theory, though, right? Like, Big didn't... Like, either Big or Little Walder wrote a letter to Robb Stark saying that Winterfell got burned down by Theon, and etc., right? And that Ramsay saved the day because Ramsay actually did it and Ramsay told them to lie. Unless you mean... When you say... Are you talking about the pink letter? About Big Walder Frey faking the pink letter? Probably not, because he's... Yeah, I don't know. Walder Frey is a horse. No horse theories on here today, unfortunately. Warder. Put your dick away, Warder. Theory, the twins will collapse or get burned or something will happen that will destroy them. Second Hammer of the Waters, a second Harrenhal. Yeah, the idea of the twins being utterly destroyed just as like to cement the destruction of that house, perhaps. I mean, we know that the dragons will take care of it. A dragon will be headed straight to the second tower. It'll be disastrous. Oh, I see. Faking a letter to Winterfell. Okay, hold on a second. Faking a letter to Winterfell, to the Boltons for Stannis, to claim that the Freys beat Stannis, mirroring what he did in the Storm of Swords for the Boltons. Well, it's actually a Clash of Kings, but yeah, okay. And hence, so if the Boltons get that letter from Big Walder being like, we have defeated them, then Ramsay writes the pink letter, perhaps. But isn't Ramsay going with them? Isn't Ramsay riding out to fight Stannis? Maybe he leaves early. Walder Frey drowning death theory. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Aegon Bloodborne equals Dario. Theory, the Frey switch sides to the Golden Company. I could see if there's a Frey civil war, one faction might join Aegon and the Golden Company. I could see that. Fun fact, TV Jon Snow could have been called Aegon Bloodborne. That's true, actually. That's true. His name's Aegon and he was born in blood. Yeah. Dario being Bloodborne is actually plausible. Okay, this stream, the stream's gone on for too long when someone unironically is like, Dario might be Aegon Bloodborne, the Outlaw. Okay, I think we should wrap up. I will... Okay. I'll quickly... in case anyone has sent in a Streamlab donation for me to read out, let me quickly open Streamlabs. I don't stream through Streamlabs anymore because it keeps crashing the stream. So I need to do something about that. Well, what I need to do is get a new PC, basically. I've got an old PC and I keep adding to it, but like I think I just need to revamp everything, you know. Let's see if I have any donations. Not this stream. No worries. Okay, so in that case, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Every Game of Thrones Frey could be out. I might change my mind, but I feel like it could be like a fun, dumb, like 10-minute video to pump out. Then I want to do a video about the fate of the Freys, like re-talking about the Red Wedding 2.0 and what's the other one? Oh, and the Frey Civil War, Vale Invasion, etc., etc. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to do another live stream. It might be tomorrow, actually, and it's going to be it's going to be House Frey Smash or Pass. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. I'm just going to go through every Frey and then Smash or Pass and waste everyone's time. And then, yeah, if you want to join the Patreon, feel free. There's access to the Discord. There's History of House Dane, extended History of House Hightower and House Royce. There's a cooking video where I make lemon cakes, because why not? You can have art commissions, you can have character cameos in my videos, all that stuff. The main selling point is the Discord, right? We do like voice chat stuff, but there's a lot there if you want to support the channel. If not, there's also a merch store. There's some fun merch. I want to really revamp the merch, actually, because right now it's sort of just like my logo on t-shirts, which is cool, and I own a couple of those shirts, but I think it's more fun to like come up with some like cooler designs, actually, you know. House Frey Smash or Pass from the POV of Blackwater. That would be Smash for every female, basically. And maybe even male. I don't even know. We don't know enough about Blackwater. So Smash or Pass, it will have to be quite complex, right? Smash or Pass. It can't just be Fairwater Smash, Gatehouse Amy Smash, and that's it. We have to dive a bit deeper. We need to be like, what do I get from the Smash? You know what I mean? Like Water Frey, is that an instant pass, or is it, hold on, is there some security that comes with Smash and Water Frey? I don't know. Maybe there's some security, financial, physical. He's the Lord of the Twins, you know. It's going to be more complex than we think. Okay, shall I wrap up now? Okay. Watch out for the next live stream and watch out for the next video, and we're going to bring this channel up to great new heights in 2025. Oh, I can't wait. Keep an eye out for more Frey content. And bye, I guess. I'm going to have some more teasers. I'm hungry.